All aboard! It's the train to Charm City. The final stop, MLB Plus in the 2016 season. So hop on. Catch an AL East Division rivalry and learn some new metrics along the way. Just how good is Mookie Betts? As DRS lets us know.
Payoff pitch. Swung on and ripped to right field toward the corner. Mookie Betts dives. He makes the catch. What a catch by Mookie Betts.
And how has Mark Trumbo adjusted to 40 home run power? A look at launch angle, well, that tells the tale. Just 2 weeks left in the regular season, and both teams are fighting for a spot on the train to the postseason. All aboard! It's the Red Sox, it's the Orioles, and it's coming up next. The historic ships of Baltimore Harbor. This is MLB Plus, and in that beautiful harbor, we take you into Oriole Park and Camden Yards. The thinking man's look tonight of the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles, our StatCast presentation. Certainly glad to have you with us. Of course, StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. Tonight's broadcast is presented by our good friends with T-Mobile. Hi there, folks, with our MLB.com studio surroundings. My name is Darren Sutton. Certainly glad to have you with us. He went to Columbia. He played for the Rays. Fernando Perez joins us. Mike Petriello, MLB.com stats analyst, and certainly have enjoyed calling these games with you all season long. So this is an interesting thing, what happens when you look at this series. In just one night, things dramatically change when you look ahead at the possibility of making the playoffs for both of these teams, and it occurred with the Boston Red Sox winning Game 1. A big flip-flop for the Toronto Blue Jays and Baltimore Orioles, so now we look ahead over the next week and a half or so how important things are for Baltimore.
Things are tight, and right now we're just looking at who might get the ball for one of these one-game playoffs. And right now it's between Gausman and Tillman, the power versus experience. There's been a lot of talk about Drew Pomeranz hitting that innings limit, but Gausman is way over that, and he's in uncharted territory as well.
So it's a 2.5-game lead in the wild card for both of the teams that are stacked up together. Boston with a very comfortable lead with a 4-game lead. So now the Red Sox, they start to make the same type of considerations for their opening round of the playoffs.
Here's the thing, it's over. The Red Sox, they've won the division. I'm calling it today, right? They're up by 4.
Bold by you, by the way.
Well, listen, I know. This was supposed to be the one division that was actually going to give us a race. The other 5 divisions, more or less, wrapped up. The Red Sox are up by 4 games. It's the biggest lead they've had of the entire season. They're actually tied with Cleveland for the second most wins in the American League. They're really hitting on all cylinders right now. David Price has kind of overcome those overseason struggles. He's pitching well. You've got the offense, like Hanley Ramirez, Mookie Betts. Everybody's hitting well. This is a team that is ready to go to the playoffs.
MLB.com analyst Jim Duquette is at the ballpark. Tim McMaster is at the ballpark. He'll be all around the ballpark. T-Mobile, greater coverage. And we want you to be involved with us. Ashley Chavez, the queen of social media. She'll be taking in all of your comments. How to get a title like that? Certainly on the final StatCast broadcast of the year. We want you to interact with us, and if you're just happening to join us for the first time at the very end of the season, we answer the question, just what is StatCast?
Several years of research and development were realized in 2014 with the debut of MLB.com StatCast, the first ever reliable measurement of every play on a baseball field. Pioneered by MLB Advanced Media and debuted with prototypes at the 2014 All-Star Game, League Championship Series, and World Series, StatCast's roots can be traced back roughly a decade earlier to MLBAM's introduction of pitch tracking. Pitch tracking delivered a never-before-seen wealth of detailed information regarding every pitch thrown in the major leagues. Though a bold move at the time, today, pitch tracking technology is ubiquitous throughout broadcast television and baseball's digital products. But despite the data compiled on pitching, never before have there been reliable defensive statistics. The goal with StatCast was to leverage the technology to ensure that defense could be quantified and that a more complete picture of our game be made available to fans. To that end, all 30 ballparks have been outfitted with 2 distinctly different but collaborative technologies to allow for the data capture, optical tracking, and radar tracking. High-definition video camera arrays spaced 15 meters apart to capture stereoscopic video, and a 3D Doppler radar system which captures 2,000 samples per second of the entire baseball field. By marrying the data from each of these systems, it is now possible to scientifically quantify the skills and talents of players on the field using new player performance metrics.
When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing, every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing, every word to every song of the girl they're taking home tonight. When the lights come on.
Jason Aldean, Broken Bow Records, and the light shining bright. Oriole Park at Camden Yards on a warm and overcast evening. Some light clouds dancing around the ballpark. And certainly as the sun says goodbye to the harbor, we're glad you are saying hello to us. The Baltimore Orioles and their home whites have taken the diamond. Kevin Gausman is in the center of that diamond, the right-hander making his 28th start of the year with an ERA of 3.43 this season. And this is how he does what he does.
You look at Kevin Gausman's fastball and split finger fastball. He's really been a different pitcher, right? If you think about him for the last couple of years, he's been kind of average, and you see the talent. It's never really worked out. You look at him in the second half of the season, he's been unbelievable. Since August 1st, a 2.06 ERA. He has been the ace that this Orioles team has really needed.
Last time out, he was really, really good. It was against the Boston. He went 8 innings, 4 hits, struck out 6 to 120 pitches, stretching himself out.
Yeah, you look at what he did there. He elevated the fastball, and he doesn't really have a high spin fastball necessarily, but certainly throws it hard. He averages almost 96 miles an hour, and then he comes back with that split finger fastball. He shows the skills that we've kind of always seen, but what's really fascinating is when he's taking this big step forward, there's not a real particular reason that stands out. He's not throwing harder, he hasn't changed his pitch mixture. There's been a lot of talk about more confidence, and I'll buy into that to some extent, but he's really just made it work without an obvious reason why, and it's fascinating to see that happen.
Facing the Boston Red Sox, Mookie Betts is at the top of the order tonight, some juggling around. Dustin Pedroia trying to get a little bit stronger, a little bit more healthy. We'll explain in a bit. And Hanley Ramirez in the middle of that order.
Hanley Ramirez, if you look at his stance this year, the thing that I love is that he's got such a solid base. His head is really still. He simplified his pre-pitch routine. Hitting right after him is Travis Shaw, and he's just taking the whole the physics problem of hitting, he's just solving it in a different way. Travis Shaw has this constant movement, trying to generate, power using this constant flow of energy. Same thing with Adrian Gonzalez out west with the Dodgers. But Hanley with that great bat speed, he's just simplifying things, seeing the ball, putting solid swings on it, and he's having a great season.
314, 356, 541. Triple slash for Mookie Betts as he digs in. The MVP candidate at the top of the order, and he takes a pitch off the plate. A little bit over 93 miles an hour, 93.6 miles an hour, and we're underway. We're glad you're with us tonight. Final MLB Plus StatCast broadcast. We hope many more to come next year as he bores that one in tight on the hands. Betts 1 for 4 with a homer in the opener of this series, 9 of his last 25, and in those last 6 games, a weighted runs created plus run of 160. Been an incredible year for him. Down off the end of the bat with a breaking ball, dumped into center field. That is a base hit. And right down the rabbit hole there, that perfect exit velocity and, of course, launch angle.
Yeah, the way Mookie Betts has really been attacking the Orioles in Camden Yards lately, to hold them to a single might almost be a win, right? But you're kind of right. That was a ball right down the pipe. Something interesting I noticed here about Gausman, his first pitch, extension, only 5.8 feet. That's below average, and it's below his average. You're kind of short on that ball. So something to watch for if he does that all night, or if that's just kind of a first pitch jitters there.
Betts is on. Betts has got 24 stolen bases. Mookie's been caught 4 times. We'll introduce you to the defense. We've already seen them here in just a bit. Xander Bogaerts is in the 2 spot. What good pitch tight. That one's rolled foul. Adam Jones anchors the defense in center field for Baltimore.
Yeah, if you look at Adam Jones, this is not a strong defensive outfield. It's actually got the worst defensive run saved in baseball this year, and one of the worst of really on record. Adam Jones plays so shallow, and I think that's a big part of it. There's a lot of balls that go over his head. Doesn't necessarily mean he's as bad of an outfielder as the numbers say, but since he plays in so much, a team like the Red Sox can really take advantage of that.
He's challenged him, belt high down the middle.
It's really interesting what you say. I think that with the advanced metrics, I think, a player of Adam Jones's caliber, I don't think you would think of taking him out of center field before his time's done, but you've seen that a lot in, our StatCast era, where a lot of, great Hall of Fame type center fielders are moving before their time's done just because the numbers are saying so.
Yeah, I think if they had someone who was really capable of playing there on an everyday basis, it might be something to consider.
But it's a story of two halves for Bogaerts. Very, very strong in the first half. Maybe had a little bit of luck on his side as well. But here over the last week or so, those numbers ticking up, but it definitely has been a quieter second half.
Yeah, you can see the weighted runs created plus. So 100 is league average. Before the All-Star break, a 130, that's elite. That's 30 percentage points above league average. But since he's actually been a below average hitter, not so much in just the home runs, you can see 10 and 10, but the balls aren't falling, striking out a little bit more. He's still a very quality player. He's just not quite the same guy who looked like he was a superstar early in the year.
Orange Stad Aruba. You're watching MLB Plus featuring StatCast, and it's powered by Amazon Web Services. I love how he buries things in. Very confident on the arm side. He's very confident going in tight, and it's got just a little bit of movement to it late.
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's a guy that you have to be careful with inside there, tight to his hands, it's that man. I don't think that there's a player that pulls his hands in and hits the inside pitch as well as Bogaerts. I mean, some of the highlights that we'll probably get a chance to see later in the highlight package, it's incredible. There's nobody that really does that in baseball. It's really incredible.
Which makes him more susceptible to soft away then, or no?
I think it does, but you see that he's in at bats really deep. He's fighting pitches off all over the place. You definitely don't see him hit balls with tons of power away. He's, more shooting balls the other way. It's just an ability that he has that not everybody has. It's something that's not really teachable.
So he threw it right at that happy spot. He threw what he thought he was seeing a fastball. Instead, it was a split and it disappeared.
Disappeared on him.
That's so funny. That's exactly what you talked about. He likes it in, and he threw it right where he wants it, but that's a great pitch.
And you notice the spin rate on that split finger fastball? It's about 700 RPM or so lower than his four-seamer, which is a very good thing. You want the splitter to look like it's going to be a four-seamer and then dive out of the way. A high-spin splitter will stay up, and that's not really what you want at all.
4 decades on this earth and one of the greatest seasons of all time for a 40-year-old as David Ortiz takes right down the middle. That is strike one. 317, 403, 630 for Big Papi. 35 home runs, 47 doubles. And he has been good at home. He has been good on the road. He has been great in September. Pick a time. We'll just throw numbers at you.
Do you believe this is the third best season of his career on offense? It's not just a good season as he's going out. It's one of his best, and he's had 12 or so really outstanding seasons.
A long time ago, the Mariners dealt him to the Twins for Dave Hollins. You folks remember that name? Back in '96. And then he was just a free agent signee by the Boston Red Sox.
Well,
cut loose.
Do you remember David Ortiz's name at the time of that trade?
That's right.
It was David Arias, I believe.
Big shift. Works out just fine in the end. As David Ortiz has beaten a rare feat these days.
And Pedro Martinez said, this guy Ortiz, or Arias, I think he can be a really good player for us. We should sign him. And he's chiefly responsible for it, as the legend goes.
Hanley Ramirez now. 293, 363, 575. Hanley with 28 home runs. Same total in the doubles category.
So obviously we see hitters, they change up their stance. Sometimes, in the course of a season, the course of their career. Hanley has just really simplified things. He's had the leg kick for a little while, but you see his head is really, really still. Really helping him out, just simplifying things. He's got great bat speed, and he's just letting it work.
What a run this has been, huh?
Well, and it goes back even farther than this. This is just over the last 30 days. It shows he's been one of the 3 best hitters in baseball, but it really goes back to June. It was reported on June 22nd that he'd raised his hands a little bit, get those hands out of the way of his leg kick, opened his stance, and really it's since then he's been one of the 5 best hitters in baseball. To that point, 333 on base, 377 slugging, not that great. Since then, 393 on base, 651 slugging. He's become really an elite hitter. Again, he's like the old Hanley that we've seen. Although this is always the issue with Hanley Ramirez.
Right off the top of the foot.
Yeah.
He gets that lead foot down. And looked like he got right on the top of the arch. And he is not comfortable. Tossed the bat away initially, just trying to walk it off.
I mean, that's usually the issue with Hanley is health. I mean, health is honestly, it's an underrated issue in sports, especially when we have players that are unwilling to, be truthful about what's going on. Obviously, there's no incentive for them to be truthful about what's really going on. And there've been, mostly a lot of problems that have been, hamstrings and things like that. It's really plagued him, and I think that's really what was behind last year. I don't really buy into the idea that Hanley just wasn't hitting well. I just don't think that he was well last year.
Davis keeps it on the bag, otherwise runner would have advanced quite easily. Last year, 257 batting average for balls in play with Hanley Ramirez. An exit velocity to go along with that of 91.02. So he goes up just a bit this year, 91.84. So maybe there is a little luck involved because his batting average for balls in play is 325.
Yeah, and a big part of his turnaround has been launch angle. Because he was hitting a lot of grounders early in the season. Through that June 22nd date I mentioned, his launch angle was about 5 degrees. Which is not that high off the ground. And since then, it's gone up by about 8 full degrees. I think it's the biggest increase by anybody in baseball. Now, obviously, there's a limit on how high you want to hit the ball. It's not just higher is better or you're hitting pop-ups. But for him to get that exit velocity in a more optimal range, it's really been a big part of his production.
Just kind of showed him a loopy breaking ball. Certainly not his best pitch by any stretch to show Ramirez that he had it. I would imagine to come back in now. Hanley was 1 of 4 last night. 48 hits in his last 34 games. Trying to come in a little bit low.
Yeah, he wanted to come in, and a lot of times pitchers will yank that. It's almost a sixth sense telling them not to go in at the last minute, and you see that so often when the catcher sets up in, the pitcher just sort of throws it low, subconsciously pulling it down.
Hitters count. Let's see if it's a secondary pitch. Couple of outs. See if it throws him a splitter on 3-1. Dips it in there. That's exactly what it was, and it missed low.
Looked like a pretty good pitch.
Xander Bogaerts saw a pretty good pitch, too, as we look back. The StatCast peek at that one, a split-finger fastball.
Look at the dive on that pitch. And you can see the low spin right there. That is, it's one of the most unhittable pitches in baseball when you can locate it right, and really when you can make it look like the four-seamer coming out of your hand.
Kent State University's very own Travis Shaw. Producing guys like Al Oliver and Thurman Munson back a generation ago. Kent State. Shaw this year slugging .440 with 16 home runs. Just missing. 1-0 the count.
Andy Sonnenstein as well, friend of the program, another Kent State guy.
Pretty much everything from Gausman so far, with the exception of the one pop-up, has been low. Everything low, low, low. And he's not really challenging guys with the fastball high. We saw in that highlight film last time against the Red Sox. That really worked to his advantage.
Lines that one toward right center field. Hangs up plenty long enough.
Missed the spot and it worked out for him.
Worked out just fine. Just a little bit in on the hands. And so Gausman gives up the single to Mookie Betts. It's a strikeout of Bogaerts. Ortiz pops up in the infield. And Hanley Ramirez walks Travis Shaw. Goes down. He didn't quite square that one up, so Gausman gets back in the dugout. Eduardo Rodriguez getting ready to warm up, but Ashley Chavez, the queen of all things social media on this final MLB Plus StatCast. It's kind of an interesting night. I feel the pot being stirred a little bit tonight by everyone out there on Twitter. That's what Twitter's for, though, right?
Oh yeah, that's what Twitter's for. We need to argue and we need to discuss our feelings, especially sports-related feelings. So it's been fun. Twitter's been great tonight. It's about to get better, I'm sure. But yes, we want you to be a part of this broadcast. We want to hear from you. Let's maybe get in a fight or like share funny stories or something like that. You know, who knows? It's our last show. But send us a tweet using the hashtag MLB Plus. We'll put it on the board behind us and we'll discuss it. Hopefully they're nice things and hopefully they're great questions about stats and this game and other things. But while I have you, let's look at some things from around the league. New Balance made David Ortiz shoes for every single team he plays in his last final games, which are just the teams in the AL East right now. These are the ones he's wearing to play the Baltimore Orioles. They have a crab on them, and I love them. That's really great. Can't wait to see the others.
Actually wearing those in the game tonight?
I would assume so. I've been looking, but I didn't see. I love the ones he's going to wear at home, too. This is Stephen King. He's a huge Red Sox fan. He's getting prepared for this series by barbecuing his Orioles hat, which I guess is better than barbecuing an actual Oriole, so that's good.
I wouldn't put anything past Stephen King.
I wouldn't either.
I love that you always say, see Stephen King just reading in the stands, not watching the game.
He doesn't need to. He can multitask. And next, I'm sure you guys have all seen this. This is a recent minor league call-up. Yasiel Puig may have gotten into a little altercation last night with World Series champion Madison Bumgarner, which they often do. But it seems like he was surprised this time and took his time away from the game to make these T-shirts. So someone's still a little bitter, it looks like. I love it.
By the way, recent minor league call-up, Yasiel Puig. That's funny. I like that. I like it almost as much as I like those shirts.
You would.
Like them both. Like them both. Thank you, Ashley, Giants fan. Appreciate that. Good stuff. And Mike, nice comeback Dodgers fan. Away we go, Eduardo Rodriguez. We're not done with that subject. That's a great, great continuing subject throughout the rest of this in-between innings of broadcast. Adam Jones to lead things off. He doesn't waste any time. Bell tied down the middle, fly ball right field. Adam Jones coming in 276, 319, 458. One away.
Probably the most aggressive hitter in baseball. He's got the highest swing percentage of anybody over the last, this year, over the last 2 years, over the last 3 years. That's just what he does.
Defensively, Mookie Betts, so spectacular. That's what helps him move up in that MVP conversation. That's defensive runs saved as part of that outfield and right field. Jackie's got a better arm in center, but Betts is incredible.
Betts has been unbelievable. He's got the highest defensive runs saved total in baseball. And as you can see from the outfield there, he's got a pretty good arm. Jackie Bradley Jr. has an elite arm. Not so much in left field with Chris Young, although Chris Young's been hitting the ball very well. So something to look out for when we see runners on the bases if they challenge if the ball goes to left field.
Chris Davis has homered 38 times this year. Yawn, just another power year for Davis. His on-base percentage of .333, 81 walks push him up to that mark. And, of course, there's always strikeouts in that resume, 201.
Speaking of strikeouts, what are you doing in the two-hole, sir?
You know,
Very interesting.
You don't like Chris Davis batting second?
Not so into it. Not so into it. It might just be sort of a knee-jerk baseball thing. Like, you're not supposed to be batting second because you strike out so much.
It's a little guy who makes contact, right?
Exactly.
The gritty guy.
Yeah. But, you know, when you have a bomb squad, you're basically just trying to get guys on base so that, you know, people can hit home runs behind them.
Is he just having the quietest 38-homer season you can remember? It almost feels like a disappointing season for him.
Absolutely.
And I guess in some ways it is, but you know, in the second half, it's only hitting 196. And you know, I don't really care much about batting average, but even for me, that's low. One thing that is interesting about him, he has the biggest decrease in pull percentage of anybody else in baseball. Last year, he would pull the ball 56% of the time. This year, only 42% of the time. So is that him trying to go opposite field? Is it a sign of a slower bat? I'm not sure. Right there, he missed badly on that changeup.
Yeah, good changeup. Lefty on lefty change. You didn't see that pitch thrown, 2 decades ago.
They could be pitching him differently as well. Things change season to season.
Rodriguez, quite pedestrian last time out against the Yankees. 2 1/3, 8 hits, 4 runs allowed. No decision. His team won the game. They won it 7-5. In the 3-hole, Manny Machado, MVP candidate. 352 on base, 553 slug, 36 homers, 39 doubles.
Rodriguez got off to such a rough start this season. Actually so bad he actually got sent down. He had an 8.59 ERA after his first 6 starts. And when he came back, he's been a different pitcher. 3.25 ERA since, and the big key is he's really started using his slider more. So keep an eye out for that, because before, hitters were just kind of sitting, fastball change. And we saw the changeup's a very good pitch, but fastball change isn't really enough to throw hitters kind of off the trail. The slider and the increased usage has really helped him a lot.
Peeking in and over those bullpens from our T-Mobile Greater Coverage cam. Tim McMaster, our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter, we'll hear from him in just a bit. Is that good two-seam fastball down and away, over-swinging a little bit, fouled off of the plate. It's a pretty good 2-0 pitch right there.
Didn't look like he was quite committed to swinging, you know?
Machado is tattooed left-handed pitching this year. Comes right back, belt high, 96 miles an hour. An extension of 6'1", puts the perceived velocity just a little bit below.
Somebody wants to make that postseason roster.
Yeah, pretty much a league average spin rate there, right?
2,200?
Yeah, it doesn't really lead to much movement in either direction, up or down.
The changeup, popped up, left field. Range City defensively when you're talking about the Boston Red Sox.
Absolutely. If it's up, it's an out.
Red Sox and Orioles, we talk about the extremities of the velocity and the power, the launch angle, and the range being covered. 2 fun teams to cover on a StatCast broadcast. Here's some of the best of both of these squads right now.
And center field, Adam Jones comes in, makes the catch. Rollins tagging. Here comes the throw. Here comes the throw. He is out at the plate. Adam Jones guns him down.
Wow. You will not see it any better than that. Not only is it a great throw, it's a great tag by Wieters.
There's a high deep drive left center field. He torched that one way back. Gone! Another one for the Red Sox. Boy, take cover the way that one came in. His 4th home run, and he got it all.
You know, I want to see the exit speed on that one.
I know you love your exit speed.
Yeah, I love the exit speed.
Has he got another one? Yes, he does. Way back, and goodbye, home run. Out of the rumble by Trumbo. He's got 2 in the ball game, and the Orioles come back and tie it up at 5. Tied for the lead in the American League in homers. High deep drive into left field. Down into the corner again. Benintendi near the wall. Leaps. He's hung up. Did he catch it? Oh, you got to be kidding me. He took one back. Hung up by the hips on the wall, and he brings it back. Goodness gracious. What a sensational play.
Extremities, positive extremity like Rick Porcello last night. 9 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Didn't walk anyone, struck out 7. If you're into wins at all, he's got 21 of them. It's been a really good year, 3.08 ERA.
You know why Porcello has been successful this year? He has a very high-spin 4-seam fastball. Well, that should lead to strikeouts. And last year he fell in love with it, but he didn't locate it very well. He kind of located it right down the middle of the plate. It got crushed. Started using it less. He went back to the sinking 2-seamer, putting the 4-seamer high. And it's really been a big part of his turnaround.
So Porcello, strong, young. Chris, that is, the pitcher. Well, he's not out there. This is the outfielder. And Chris Young looks at a breaking ball. You know, you look at Young as he gets a little bit older now, and he has suddenly gotten paid to play baseball for quite some time. He's 33 years old. There have been some high moments. He was a survivor for a couple of years, seeking jobs, but now he's a really solid bench player and a guy who's done a lot of damage this season. One of his finer years.
It's actually his best year. Maybe not in terms of counting stats. You know, he had 32 home runs one year for Arizona when he played every day. But his best year by weighted runs created plus, and he's kind of known as a lefty masher, but he's getting a lot of starts against righties, which is interesting because you'd think Andrew Benintendi would maybe be that guy.
Sure.
Here he is tonight. Nobody pulls the ball more than he does. Not even Brian Dozier. Over the last 3 years, he's the #1 guy as far as pull percentage.
That's one of the worst check swing calls that you will see. Really bad.
He pulls that ball in on his hands, lines it to left field, high off that wall, and Young is on the move, picking him up, putting him down. He will end up At second base, CY, his teammates call him, with his 18th double of the year. One of the good guys in the game.
As you might have heard, he likes to pull the ball.
Thank
he
you.
has
Well
the
done by
highest
you.
pull percentage of anybody.
I was paying attention. Chris was paying attention.
That's just hitting where it's pitched. I mean, that's amazing. That's actually Xander Bogaerts-esque right there. I mean, just the way he pulls his hands there and just goes with it.
He's got 12 hits his last 11 games, a bunch of extra base hits, 7 now. His OPS in his last 10 games is 1,300.
That's just a skill that a lot of, right-handed hitters don't have. They would just take the same swing, break their bat, or foul that pitch off, if not miss it.
Right at the knees, outside corner, Jackie Bradley Jr., Red Sox center fielder. On base of 354, slugging just a tick under 500. It's been a quieter second half, about league average, after a huge first half.
His first half was so big that I remember at certain points we were looking at stats over the previous 365 days, and he was hitting like Chris Bryant was over the entire last year. As you say, the second half hasn't quite been there. So if you look at his 2016 season, the end result is basically it's the same thing as his 2015 season. Still a pretty good season, just not quite what we thought we were going to see, in May and June.
Getting on a little more, some more walks over the last couple of days, sometimes an indicator that a hitter's about to get hot again. But buries it in that time, goes glove side under the hands of the left-handed hitter.
It's interesting to kind of consider how the team is doing, how that impacts the way that each player plays, You can make the case that when a team is really, really terrible, sort of frees a player to have a breakout season. But also, when you've got tons of guys that are having great seasons around, obviously we know that you're going to see better pitches when you have protection in the lineup. But when there's not much pressure on you because everyone's doing well, it definitely has to help things.
Chris Young with the leadoff double. A hanging splitter a moment ago. He throws a second one. He's babied 2 of them in there, and they both have stayed up above the knees. Not throwing either one of those with conviction.
He hasn't looked really sharp in the early going, has he? I mean, we've seen the velocity, and that's great, and we've seen 1 or 2 of those good pitches, but yeah, I think, as you said in the first inning, missed his spot and kind of still got an out of it. You can't really get that far into the game if you're going to miss your spots, too many pitches.
Well, power pitchers will do that. They will miss spots and get a lot of outs. But, at the front of the show, we talked about his innings limit, and I think in general, the adrenaline will help him sort of overcome that and make it to the finish line. I don't think anybody ever complains about being tired pitching in high leverage situations. I think it could be something that we see, affect him next year, actually.
Count is full. Does he throw him a full count split? They threw a fastball right down the middle. Lifted center field. Well struck. Went further than I thought it would. Jackie Bradley took a pitch a little bit in off the plate. Inside out power swing. And so Bradley, the first out of the inning. Chris Young's double with an exit velocity of 98.41. Exit velocity of 98.41. Launch angle of 23.19. And here's the StatCast look of that double.
23 degrees is pretty solid. 25 to 30 is usually what we say is a sweet spot for a home run. So if he'd been able to elevate that just a little bit more, he might have been able to get it out of the park. Sure, he'll be happy with that double.
Sandy Leon, 70 games.
Yeah, the pleasant surprise, I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, both the Yankees and the Red Sox, a lot of fun behind the plate the last couple of months, right?
Absolutely. Well, I was actually just thinking, the better teams in the league, I mean, all of these just amazing contributions out of nowhere. I mean, the Cubs, we're not expecting the Cubs to, upgrade at catcher, in the middle of the season like that. We weren't expecting this, and just, happening to teams that are already quite fortunate. It's amazing.
He actually got DFA'd last. He was purchased for cash from Washington, and then they DFA'd him so Blake Swire could come up. Nobody claimed him. And really, no one should have claimed him. For good reason. No one could have possibly seen this coming. He has been the best hitting catcher this year. Think about that. It's insane.
Infield in. Been the entire at bat. It's a hot shot right at that drawn in infield, and that's all they will do, having to tumble off the bag, Machado, just to keep it from falling away. I think he kept his foot on it.
Good fastball jammed him. You're exactly right. I mean, we spoke about that earlier this year. We were talking about Vasquez primarily and Hannigan. That's all we were saying. You know, Sandy Leon, he was not factoring at all in our discussions, and you know, we've just gotten even more fortunate, just like the Cubs have.
Sandy Leon this year trying to find his way. Maybe the last week or so, they're figuring out a little bit. Didn't really square that one up. 2 of his last 21, so hoping to get hot one more time. 24 years old, out of Santiago in the Dominican Republic. This is Marco Hernandez, who is in there for Dustin Pedroia tonight. He began his career as a Cub, signed as a free agent back in '09 to Boston for Felix Doubront around Christmas time in 2014. And he takes high up and out of the zone, 1-0 the count. Right out of the catcher's mitt, 1-1 the count. 95.4 miles an hour from Gausman.
He's probably never seen Gausman, and Gausman's probably never seen him.
This is his first start in the big leagues since July 3rd. He went back down in the minors for a while.
He had a good year at Pawtucket. Hit, you know, over 300, a couple homers.
Just to dump one into left field. A little bit too much carry out to left field. Limehold is there, and he puts that one away. T-Mobile Greater Coverage, kind of presenting MLB Plus, our StatCast broadcast tonight, and our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter, Tim McMaster, is all around the ballpark. This is usually his domain. He likes to get out, and he does such a great job. And our Fan of the Year is his first subject. He's going to explain a little bit more to us. I love this, though, conceptually, with regard to baseball and the fans and the interaction and some work being done here. Tim, explain, please.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, the Esurance Fan of the Year Award started this year, and basically every team in the majors had 4 nominees for their Fan of the Year, and you get to go on Twitter and vote for who you thought should be the winner. Videos were put together for each of these fans, featuring the fans talking about why they should be the Fan of the Year. And like every team, the Orioles have their Fan of the Year, and his name is Santos, Romeo Santos. He's your winner. We got a chance to catch up with him a little bit before the game today because, like every game here at Camden Yards, he was here. He grew up, guys, just down the street from the ballpark. His first job was here at Camden Yards. So let's check in with Romeo Santos.
Let me tell you why I'm the Orioles Fan of the Year. I not only bleed black and orange with tattoos, but I named my son after the ballpark that forever changed baseball. I also grew up down the street, Babe Ruth's neighborhood called Pigtown. I remember being a little boy and watching the games, and Cal Ripken would be at bat. We would hear Camden Yards, the crowd go crazy before we would see it on TV, and next thing you know, Cal Ripken would hit a home run. The Orioles fundraising program put my friends and family in the seats and to raise money for critically ill children, to show not only my love for the Baltimore Orioles, but to do some good in the community. I've been coming here since I was a little kid and doing a hat thing for about 10 years now, so a lot of people recognize me anyway. So, you know, when they found out that I was up for Fan of the Year, a lot of people were tweeting out, and a lot of family and friends, and it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. I've made some of the best friends at Camden Yards. I have one of my babysitter I met at Camden Yards. You know, a couple of my best friends I met at Camden Yards. It's like a literal family. I can call like any of these guys up for anything. Like dozens of people I see every game.
Romeo, just a guy that loves being here at the ballpark. He said he met the babysitter for his kids here. He has people he could call on for anything here at Camden Yards. And one interesting thing he said, guys, was that when he found out Zion Harvey, the 9-year-old with the double hand transplant that threw out a first pitch here at Camden Yards earlier in the season, was one of the other finalists, he actually went on Twitter and he tried to get Zion to be the winner. He wanted to see Zion win, but at the end of the day, Romeo is your Orioles Fan of the Year.
That's great stuff, Tim. We appreciate that. Our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter, Tim McMaster, and I think that's really cool. Mark Trumbo just missed it. Fly ball center field. Seeking home run number 44 instead. First out of the inning.
He's so locked in, he knew immediately he didn't have it. And he was, only a couple steps off the warning track. See how annoyed he gets.
The funny thing, right-handed power hitter has not hit lefties well this year. Destroyed righties. And you get a guy who maybe there's a little bit too much aggression. That front shoulder leaves when you think you see it so well. Weighted runs created plus of 64 against lefties. 136 against righties. A quick analysis on the maybe why.
Well, if you're gonna crush righties as opposed to lefties, I'd rather see that because you're gonna have so many more opportunities. So wouldn't really worry about it. I think it could be also that lefties are just terrified of him and they're not giving him anything to hit.
Jonathan Scope, 269, 301, 460. He has homered 24 times this year. Doesn't walk much at all.
He started every single game, and I think with the exception of about 2 or 3 innings, has played every single inning at second base for Baltimore.
You're exactly right. He never walks. It's interesting to me, whether your hitting coaches or your manager can actually, maybe talk you into reconsidering your style. This guy's obviously very, very talented. He could potentially be, a 300 say hitter, maybe with a little bit less power, who's getting on base a little bit more, which serves your team a lot more because you've got a bomb squad. But again, he's a young player and he's just figuring it all out. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, at the top of a lot of leaderboards, and he's a little bit older.
His last 3 weeks, it's been a grind for him. He has just 11 hits, an OPS of 522. As he is retired that time. Scope, maybe a byproduct of playing all the time, every single day, body fighting him back a little bit. His walk rate, we were talking about that, 3.2. League average is 7.8. So he doesn't walk much at all. Here's Matt Wieters.
Matt Wieters in the midst of the worst season of his career. He's going to be a free agent after the year, and there's almost no way he's going to get a qualifying offer. I can't see that happening. But, they've talked about bringing him back. You hope that there's more in there. I know the Tommy John surgery really sidetracked him, but you look at it this year, 299 on base, 395 slugging, 17 percentage points below even league average. He's not the guy that we thought we were going to see when he first came up.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a little bit about guys pulling their hands in, sort of changing the swing a little bit, right? Your better hitters have, a better ability to do that. And you just see with him, he's just a little bit stiff. You don't see that swing changing much to accommodate pitches. Doesn't pull the hands in so well. And I think everybody was expecting him to be a huge star. It's been a little bit disappointing for them. It'd be interesting to see where he goes next year.
Been a tough second half. Was about league average in the first half. Has fallen below that in the second half, as Mike says, overall, top to bottom. This year's been the biggest struggle of his career. He goes down on strikes. Mookie Betts, 23 years old, Boston's 5th-round pick in 2011 out of John Overton High School. Jim Callis has his journey through MLB.com's pipeline.
Mookie Betts was a 5th-round pick in 2011 out of a Tennessee high school. He was also the Tennessee Boys State Bowler of the Year that year. Red Sox wind up signing him for $750,000 at the signing deadline. He played briefly that summer, had a modest, more extended pro debut in 2012, and then things really began to take off in 2013. And the Red Sox, when they signed him, they liked his hitting potential, they liked his athleticism. He started driving the ball, on a much more consistent basis in 2013, wound up going from low Class A to the big leagues in less than 2 years. Also, while having to learn a new position, he came up as a second baseman. Dustin Pedroia obviously entrenched in Boston, so Betts had to learn to play the outfield. Once he got to Boston for the final third of the 2014 season, he's been one of their best players ever since. His first full year in the big leagues, he hit .291 with 18 homers and 21 steals, and I think he continued to push those numbers up. He controlled the strike zone exceptionally well in the minor leagues. Hasn't done it to the same extent in the big leagues, in part because he's been so young He's still only 23. I think he'll continue to do that. I think you'll see more offensive production out of him. I think he'll continue to get better in the outfield with more time out there as well. Already did a competent job in center field. This year he's playing right field now that Jackie Bradley Jr. has taken over in center. And I think Mookie Betts is a superstar in the making in Boston.
And the defensive metrics tell us he's one of the best in the game.
He is the best right fielder in the game according to defensive runs saved. I think he's second to Adam Eaton according to UZR. Remember this, he was a second baseman coming up, and he came to the big leagues as a second baseman, and it was really just because of Dustin Pedroia, blocking him there that they moved him to the outfield. And he hasn't just adapted, he's excelled. And you look at that big outfield, the big right field in Fenway Park, that's a very, very difficult place to play, I'm sure you know firsthand.
You need a center fielder there.
You need a center fielder there, and he has done an outstanding job.
I think without that Fenway Park right field, you consider maybe bringing him back to second base. He didn't play his way out of second base.
Sure.
He just was blocked. I mean, you see how he's taken to the game, and he's just getting better and better as he plays. I wouldn't be surprised if he could, turn into a great second baseman.
Flared one, dumped one in back in the first inning, raising that batting average up. On base of 356 coming in. Gosman, an extra grunt as he fires that one, misses 1-0 with the count. Talking about it, Jim Callis was what a great bowler he was. His mom, Diana, played softball in high school, played it well, was bowling, was at the alley the night before Mookie was born. Do our best to get some metrics on that score. And on the knuckles. Did he just do it again? Yeah, you betcha. Couple into the rabbit hole, if you will.
He's hitting approximately 4,000 at Camden yards this year. I said Adam Jones plays really shallow. Apparently not shallow enough for these two Blues.
First one, 68.8 miles an hour, and a launch angle of, 28.5. We'll have to figure out what this one is.
Great pitches. I mean, he was out in front on the first one, but this one he got jammed. It was just a great pitch. The way Gosman throws across his body, it actually reminds me a lot of Jake Arrieta, who, when he was with the Orioles, they actually wanted to straighten him out. And that didn't work very well.
No.
He just was another guy throwing about 94 without deception. Deception is so important. That intimidation factor where it looks like he's, going to throw it right at your chest, and instead throws across his body into the strike zone. I mean, that's very valuable.
Betts, by the way, 600 at Camden Yards this year.
Is that for real?
That's like coach pitch.
That's seriously?
Yes,
600.
coach pitch.
So I was close.
To the right side. And Bogarts is 0 for 2, strikeout and a line out to right field. 8 home runs, Betts, in this ballpark. He's got 2 Texas leaguers that he'll certainly take. I mean, just epic stuff.
When you were talking about right field in Fenway, right field at Camden Yards, if you think back, how many highlights have you seen of right fielders making plays at Camden Yards? Just not that much.
Right.
Just, you don't hit the ball over there. Mark Trumbo is kind of like a designated hitter out there. Not much to do. He just takes a jog out there and doesn't, make too many plays.
I guess that's the only way you can have him play in the outfield.
I'm going to say he's very much like a designated hitter out there. Here's David Ortiz. He takes a split-fingered fastball away. Those older guys. Rated runs created plus 40 years or older. Boy, that's an incredible list. 164 for Big Papi. Amazing 71.
He's going to get in the Hall of Fame, right? You all agree with that?
David Ortiz?
Hall of Famer?
I would say so.
I would say so. I think some people are going to, hold the testing thing against him and the fact that he doesn't play defense, but...
SAT? Test?
Yeah, well...
ACT?
Sure, one of those.
My daughter's going to
one of those.
Anyway, I was just curious which one you were talking about.
One of those acronyms. That's right. But I've kind of come around the last couple of years. He just really has never stopped hitting, and I think he's going to almost breeze his way in.
Has always been someone who has represented the game, an ambassador to the game, has borne that responsibility for his services. He has made about $160 million in his career. Number 2 on his team in launch angle, so he tries to get that backspin on the baseball. He's done it quite a bit. His average launch angle of 15, at about 15.03. He did not go around on that split-fingered fastball. Big Papi holds up. Stayed very steady with his launch angle as well. Nearly 94 miles an hour.
And that pitch had movement on it, but not really in the direction you expect to see the splitter go. It kind of went off to the side as opposed to dropping.
He got his elbow down a little bit low underneath that one, and that one is fouled back to the screen. It's a dangerous pitch if it flattens out, right? I mean, you don't want that one flattening out.
Yeah, well, it lets the hitter stay through it longer. And, you know, the hitter is just trying to stay on the ball. If it flattens out, he can stay through it longer and hit that ball a lot further.
538 career home runs. Mike Schmidt, 548, number 16 ahead of him on the list. Our T-Mobile greater coverage cam from up over that high wall in right field at Camden Yards. Right behind that DH, Mark Trumbo out there. A good little battle here. 2-2 the count. Splitter. That's the epitome of spitting on a pitch. He almost dared that pitch to cross by as he looked at it. He's having fun, isn't he?
He is having fun. I mean, it's the swagger is maximum. I mean, he's just what I love to see with great hitters, especially veteran great hitters. They look so annoyed when they don't get their pitch. Like, come on, you just give it to me already. And it's how he gets himself going.
Into center field, it's a base hit. He did throw him a split. Betts easily goes first to third, so you always think, okay, he's going to flatten that pitch out, he's going to pull it off the wall. Instead, that was a little more like Rod Carew, not David Ortiz.
I can say I didn't really like the approach that at bat. Every single pitch he threw him was low and away. And then I think there was 3 or 4 splits right in a row. He saw the same pitch, the same location each time. I don't think you can be surprised that Ortiz could square that up. It's something he'd just seen how many times in a row. You got to mix it up a little bit. You know, drop in a breaking pitch, get high, get in his face. It seems like you're showing him a little too much respect.
Launch angle of just under 4 degrees for Big Papi. 95.5 miles an hour exit velocity. And here's Hanley Ramirez. Scoreless game, top half of the 3rd inning. These two teams this year playing for the 17th time, all even, 8 apiece.
Probably see a breaking ball here. No.
Pretty good fastball there, right below the knees with a little bit of tilt on it.
Yeah, Hanley was probably thinking the same thing.
Extension of 6.4, so the perceived velocity just a little bit below that of the 97.5. Crossing right at the knees. Gosman's got to recover. One, barely, a little soft flip, and a run scores. That inability to make the play, it was squared up, but the inability cost him a run. 1-0.
Well, you see, those are 2 fastballs that are very hittable fastballs, and you know, just the situational thing of overthinking and thinking, oh well, of course he's not going to throw me a fastball first pitch. Of course he's not going to throw me a fastball on the second pitch. There's such utility in just being ready for the fastball at all times. It's just that you're, as a guy like that, you're used to getting pitched around and messed with so much that it just doesn't occur to you to swing at the fastball.
And really all we've seen from him tonight is 4-seam and splitter, right? Probably at 95% of his pitches are those 2 pitches. And you can throw a 96 with a splitter, I mean, that's going to get you pretty far. He's just not showing a lot of variety.
Sprinting back to the bag is Davis after making the play on the backhand. The Red Sox do play to run. A little bit of help in the middle of the diamond. Gausman couldn't snag a one-hopper back to the mound. Would have been a double play, would have ended the inning. So Hanley Ramirez with a run batted in, if you're into keeping track of things like that. 1-0 is the score. Mike, Fernando, and Darren, MLB.com studios, and certainly glad you're spending your evening with us. Our final StatCast broadcast, MLB Plus, powered by Amazon Web Services. And Gausman, as you said, really hasn't had any kind of authority of a third pitch, a breaking ball. There hasn't been a breaking ball really to mention. It's been a little loopy. Splitter, he's thrown a few good ones, but several have flattened out.
Yeah, well, lucky for him, he throws 97, and he
go.
can, make a mistake here and there. To harp on the innings limit again, you could see that play in this year. I think it's something that you see next year where, after this race, whatever happens, maybe the first few starts, he's a little bit flat, struggling to sort of access that adrenaline that's going to carry him through here. But he hasn't looked so sharp, but you can, you don't have to execute when you throw 97 all the time. You can get out of stuff.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You need a little variety. I think throwing 97 will wipe away a lot of your sins. You can miss your spots, as you said. Throw 97, and maybe you won't get killed for it. I just need to see something different. All I'm seeing is hard, dropping the splitter. But even the splitter has been a little inconsistent. There's been some good ones, some kind of hangers. You see the talent, but this is sort of going back to the older version of Gausman, who's been tempting and tantalizing with all the stuff he can do. It just hasn't really been right there.
Who knows what it looks like, from out of, in the batter's box. It's probably pretty deceptive. We talked about the way he throws across his body, and he's definitely taking advantage of that. Not so sharp, but he is still in the game against, one of the best lineups in baseball.
Jim Duquette is joining us, MLB.com analyst, and joining us from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And obviously the Red Sox, Jim, involved on the other side of the story from the San Diego Padres with the trade of Drew Pomerantz and Anderson Espinosa. With your experience in front offices for oh so very long, I'm sure you have your perspective. You've had your conversation, some of them I would imagine off the record. But what is your take? What have you gleaned from researching this?
Yeah, I'll tell you this, guys, and Darren, I went through this back when I was with the Mets with getting an injured player and not having a remedy, and I certainly can empathize with the Red Sox. The problem that they had that I didn't have, my player was injured as soon as almost the first start back, as we see the fly ball to right field. But Pomerantz was, there's two sets of books supposedly with the training stats. What we found out, A.J. Preller, GM, was suspended 30 days. But if you're Dave Dombrowski, the GM, the president, and you're trying to trade for a guy, you are taking all of the doctors and medical notes, and you have a picture of this pitcher, and you find out after the fact that he's taking oral medication for anti-inflammatories, basically for some kind of tendonitis in the arm, and then he doesn't pitch well for you. You kind of link one and one and say, well, this is why he must have been injured. Not injured enough to be out of the rotation, but injured enough. I don't want to give up that top prospect in Anderson Espinosa and back. And so that's where the Red Sox were trying to get some remedy from Major League Baseball. MLB ruled against them in that particular situation.
Jim Duquette is joining us. J.J. Hardy, after Trey Mancini makes his Major League debut, we'll introduce you a little bit more to him. J.J. Coming in with a 273, 315, 419 clip.
Hey, Jim, it's Mike. A pleasure to talk to you twice in one day. I wanted to ask you about A.J. Preller. Is it going to be really difficult for him to make any trades based on the reputation that he's kind of developing? Or do you think that teams will be thinking that he's so worried about getting caught again that he's going to do everything above board?
I think it becomes very difficult to make trades. I think they still will because you still are looking for talent, but you're going to be extra cautious in what you're dealing with him, and you're going to certainly ask for and make sure that you document all of your conversations with him and make sure that the notes are there, and you have Major League Baseball review them as well so that they're in the loop on it. I think there'll be some other remedy that teams will take and probably will include Major League Baseball. And what happens sometimes there in that sense is the confidentiality of it comes out of it a little bit when you start to include other parties. So it is kind of a tricky situation. He's going to have a hard time in the industry. There's a lot of the general managers upset in that regard.
2 away, Nolan Reimhold with the bat in his hands, 1-1 the count.
Hey, Jim, Fernando here. We just talked through Mr. Mancini's MLB debut. He got a little bit big there and, popped a ball up. He had a pretty rough August, and I think he had a wonderful present in being called up anyway, probably because of the Stephen Pierce injury. Got any info on him?
Well, Mancini's been a guy in their system, Fernando, that they've really, really liked over the last couple of years. He's got the big bat. He's a one-position guy, so he's not like a versatile guy in particular. So you look at him as a DH, but also first base. And I think the other prospect, or the other issue with him is, they're tied up, obviously, for long term at first base. So they have tried him in other positions in the outfield. It's been, I would say, it hasn't been what they had hoped, what they expected. And that's why when you see his age, that he's been in the minors a little bit longer. But they love the bat. He's a guy that is certainly on their radar going forward. And I'll be kind of curious when they go through this negotiation with Mark Trumbo. If Mancini is a guy that they use to try to keep the dollars down or try to reallocate them somewhere else and say that Mancini may be a part of their team next year.
Duke, thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you a little later.
Talk to Jim Duquette here in just a bit, MLB.com analyst, the scouts and the general managers and the front office perspective. I'd like to welcome all of you. You are watching MLB Plus featuring StatCast. StatCast is powered by Amazon Web Services. 3-2 the count on Reimold. 100 games this year and on base just 306. 6 home runs, 9 doubles. That's some really good stuff. It has been 3 innings. It has been perfect. There have been 4 strikeouts so far for the left-hander, Eduardo Jose Rodriguez. And that fastball at 94 miles an hour. Nobody really able to turn it around to generate some, dare I say, Mike Petriello, exit velocity. Let's explain exit velocity and do it now.
Exit velocity is exactly what it sounds like. It measures the speed in miles per hour of the ball off the bat. Unsurprisingly, hitting the ball hard correlates well with overall production. About 3/4 of all home runs in 2015 were hit at 100 miles per hour or more. Exit velocity is a great way to look at the performance of a hitter while excluding the luck that comes with that performance and the positioning of the fielder. Though, of course, the hitter must first make contact to even get to exit velocity. Being able to track exit velocity allowed us to disprove a long-held myth that, quote, power in leads to power out, end quote. Research has shown that a hitter is responsible for about 85% of a batted ball's exit velocity, with only 15% coming from the pitcher. Take Giancarlo Stanton of the Marlins, the owner of 8 of the top 10 hardest hit balls of 2015. Each of those balls were hit at 117 miles per hour or more, but only one of the pitches came in at 90 miles per hour or more. Exit velocity can be useful for pitchers as well. For years, there have been questions over the amount of control a pitcher did or did not have over batted ball quality, but there was never a way to measure it. Now that StatCast can put data to batted ball speed, we can see that the 3 starting pitchers with the 3 lowest exit velocity averages in 2015 were Jake Arrieta, Clayton Kershaw, and Dallas Keuchel, both Cy Young winners and the best pitcher of a generation. That alone does not completely answer the question, but it sure is a good start towards proving that good pitchers do possess the skill to induce poorly hit balls.
So Kevin Gausman has a responsibility this inning. Kind of reel things in a little bit. He's thrown 50 pitches. He's had to grind. He has certainly not been batted around at all, but it's been a real hard-hat, workmanlike effort that will have him out of this game early if, in fact, he can't quiet things down, maybe gain a little more command.
Yeah, I'm looking at his pitch charts for the night so far. He's thrown only 4 sliders. Everything else has been fastball, 4-seam fastball, or a slider, a splitter. 4-seam fastballs in the strike zone, splitters kind of low and away, trying to get guys to chase, which is great when you can make it work, but I think we saw David Ortiz, there's too much predictability.
There's that little bender that he throws. It has not been uber sharp at all tonight. Good enough.
Yeah, tough to hit following a fastball that runs in on your hands like that.
Split finger fastball, flattens out, stays in. Young just lifts it foul. Yeah, you were talking about Chris Young, OPS plus of 128, 886 OPS, weighted runs created plus of 133. Best offensive year. He has had better all-around years with regard to wins above replacement. The slider looked much better there. You said it, though. It's in, out, in, out. That was a nice sequence.
Yeah, just really worked him over there. I mean, he's got something running in about a foot in on your hands that you got to respect, and then, you know, you get that right there.
Young has always had that trademark move of almost trying to drop the bat as he checks his swing. He's had it his entire career.
I think he might have learned that from Eric Davis.
Okay.
I forget who it was, but it was a trend. Sort of, you know, when you're about to check your swing, you just drop it to sort of help you, you know, check it. It was a trend start. I want to say it was Eric Davis or someone that did it. Who knows if it works, but, you know, it's baseball, so we just pretend all of our inclinations and superstitions work.
It's pretty quick hands. That's one of the guys that could be quick enough to drop the bat and catch it before it hits the ground.
Did you like that first pitch there to Bradley? 96 miles an hour, right down the middle. I mean, middle. It says, give it your best shot. And I like that Bradley went after it. And with the swing he put on it, if he'd made contact, that ball might have landed into the next state.
Like that one?
That's exactly what you're talking about. Goodbye. Jackie Bradley touch 'em all. His 26th home run of the year. And the Boston Red Sox lead it 2-0.
Another fastball, not right down the middle. I guess he got that one a little bit elevated, which I like. But I think he might have needed to elevate it just a little bit further because that ended up kind of in the nitro zone for Jackie Bradley there. As you said, Bradley hasn't had a great second half, but he's still got the power if you put the ball where he can get to it.
What we saw there was an in-at-bat adjustment. That first fastball that he missed, a little bit big with that swing, right? Taking a little bit too much, and he's just trying to put the bat on the ball right there. And, you know, when it's coming in 97, squared up on that sweet spot, it's going to go really far. I mean, he just made a nice little adjustment there.
408 feet to dead center. He put that ball 106.5 miles an hour off the bat. That is crushed.
There's been some late season strength. That one there, and since September 1st, he's had a handful that have gone well over 100. 109.2. Makes the velocity high since September 1st as the season maybe saps a little strength. Maybe the best breaking ball he's thrown, an angry breaking ball, if you will.
Exactly.
I think Sandy Leone goes down. Another look at the StatCast look at this home run.
Yeah, that is
replay.
You can see the ball like up, right? It was a fastball. It was a good fastball. I think 94 we saw, but up. And like I said, I like high fastballs. You could really do a lot of damage against hitters that way. But if you don't get it high enough, it's still going to be a place you can get to. You can see there, it wasn't that high. It was kind of above the belt. 106.5 miles an hour, 408 feet. No doubt about that one.
Marco Hernandez on the ground. J.J. Hardy, ever the dependable one. It would look good without that overly aggressive attack on Jackie Bradley. Would have been strikeout, ground out, but instead there's a homer right there in the middle of it. And for Jackie Bradley Jr., that's 26 of those on the year. Bradley's done tons of damage if you're going to look at splits with the bases empty. Runs created plus of 133, and he adds to that tally with a solo shot. Dave McMaster, our T-Mobile greater coverage roving reporter. There's so many neat things, Tim, about this ballpark, Oriole Park at Camden Yards, celebrating, I can't believe it's stunning, 2 decades of beauty in baseball, and now winning baseball. And one of the big parts of it is the warehouse and the building in right field. So many memories involving that warehouse. Specifically, you're uncovering a couple of them. You got us, Tim?
Hey, guys, thanks a lot. Crowd's getting a little rowdy here in the middle.
That's all right.
It's tough to hear you guys amongst the crowd here in center field. But yeah, Utah Street, guys, is, of course, one of the special things about Camden Yards. And as you walk down Utah Street, one of the coolest things is if you look down at your feet, you can see the little baseballs where all the home runs have been hit here at Camden Yards onto Utah Street. Overall, guys, 85 home runs have been hit there in real games. And then, of course, Ken Griffey Jr.'s mammoth shot in the 1993 All-Star Game, which is the only home run that actually hit the warehouse itself here at Camden Yards. The rest of them off Utah Street. As for Orioles, Chris Davis leads the way, 8 home runs onto Utah Street for the current slugger for these Baltimore Orioles. As far as the Red Sox go, you'll see some interesting names out there. Mo Vaughn, Troy O'Leary, some of the guys. But of course, David Ortiz has put his name on Utah Street a couple of times. 2003, September 9th, he hit a ball 430 feet to right field onto Utah Street. And then May 21st of 2012, he went 423 feet onto Utah Street. As for the 2016 season, guys, so far 3 home runs, all by Orioles players onto Utah Street, which is about right because 25 years, 24 years here at Camden Yards, we've seen 85 home runs, so we're on that regular pace.
Thank you very much, Tim. Our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter. We'll hear from him again in just a bit. Love that. Love the setting there, the Utah Street history. Some good food on that street as well, I believe. Good barbecue. So Adam Jones, Chris Davis, Manny Machado.
Mike, that's a great example of the high fastball. You know, it's high risk, high reward, obviously. High fastball there. It works, you know, fouls it off, can't get on top.
Yeah, if you can place it, and especially if you've got a good high spin rate on it, it can really be effective. I think that's the biggest part of Justin Verlander's renaissance, is he can do that and he can place it properly. The guys just can't catch up to it. And he's looked like the old Justin Verlander for that reason.
Yeah, you gotta have the feel for it. It's very difficult because you know you might get hurt up there, but something that you learn with experience. It's why he's been so good with it.
Slider right under the hands of Jones. You saw his Twitter handle a moment ago at simplyAJ10. He's a good follow on Twitter for a couple of reasons. Not afraid to be himself, but also not afraid to lift up a whole bunch of efforts in the community. And he uses his strong social media presence to raise awareness and a lot of money for people in need. Part of Major League Baseball's Play Ball initiative. He does our job, hosting a show every week. He pops that one foul up the third baseline. He's talking to it.
I got a chance to train with him in San Diego, also with Tony Gwynn and Tony Gwynn Jr. And I just watched him do his tee work. I mean, just to watch guys train. I mean, Manny Ramirez could draw a small crowd watching him train. And some of the better players, you watch them do their drills. It's just mesmerizing. And I got a chance to watch him. He keeps his bat in the zone for so long. It's so impressive, just line drive after line drive.
Grew up in the San Diego area. He finds himself in the tougher parts of town in Baltimore and in the D.C. area, much like he had some people step in and guide him out of the tougher spots in San Diego.
I love that all these years later, the Eric Bedard trade is still paying off for the Orioles, because they got Chris Tillman in that trade as well, and a couple other relievers. I mean, that's how many years later has that been? That has changed the face of this franchise.
Changed the line of sight of the hitter with that last pitch, elevating. Well, Rodriguez has been good. Threw him a slider in early, and then this one out over the plate.
If you look at the sequence there, fastball, a couple of sliders, and he comes back with a couple of fastballs. I love changing the hitter's eye level, not allowing him to focus on one area, not letting him think, well, I'm pretty sure this ball is going to be here, so I can focus there. I can at least get the bat plane there, and I just have to worry about the speed.
Davis, right field, 2 outs. He's 0 for 2. Chris struck out back in the first inning, flied to right field. 41 pitches here in the 4th inning.
Doesn't look like he's shaking off much. Just comfortable in the groove, just trusting his catcher and rolling with the game plan.
You almost wonder, I'm just thinking of Dave Roberts, right? Having to pull Rich Hill in a perfect game and having to pull Russ Stripling with a no-hitter. Are we to the point where managers are like, just please give up a hit. I'm not going to let you go 9 innings tonight. Just one, just a single, just a bloop, just so I don't have to be that guy.
Well, how do you feel about the decision? How about Rich Hill? Let's talk about
that. Was the right decision, without question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it was somebody like Scherzer or Bumgarner, fine. Rich Hill, he could be blown over by a late breeze. He is the most fragile pitcher in baseball. They need him for October. He made the right decision.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Pretty good breaking ball, missed in and off the plate, though.
I mean, you'd have the same situation with Gausman tonight. If Gausman went out there and was throwing a no-hitter with 110 pitches, in the 9th inning, what do? He's at 160 innings. He's only thrown 112 in his career. Of course you take him out.
You got to put team goals over individual goals, especially at this point in the season.
Yeah. There's so many, things that the manager has to consider. He's probably watching the guy and he's like, well, he looks good. He looks fine. Yeah, that adrenaline might be destroying his arm. You never really know. It's amazing. We still don't know what is going on with the pitching arm. We're still very much confused by it.
Yeah, the one thing I think we can be pretty confident about is it's not so much pitch count as it is the high stress or high fatigue pitches, right? I mean, you could have a guy go 110 relatively easy pitches, and you could have a guy go 50 high stress pitches, and I know which one I'm more worried about.
Absolutely, as well as getting ready really quickly.
Sure.
Which happens to guys a lot.
Manny Machado, the first base runner of this contest. He takes a fastball up and out of the zone. I saw a 2-0 BP fastball, slower batting practice fastball, just below the knees. Trying to get him to off-rat it. He wouldn't do it. Here's Mark Trumbo.
For that exact reason, I think there's a sort of we have this idea of a limit for appearances. Around this amount of appearances, it's dangerous for a pitcher. Well, most of those appearances, probably half of them, if not more of them, they're surprise appearances. The call comes, hey, get ready to throw 97 miles an hour in 3 minutes. That's terrible for the arm. And I have in my opinion, I think that if you were a little bit more aware of when you were coming into the game, I think that you could make more appearances. It's just baseball doesn't always work out that way.
Trumbo squares that one up, hits it hard, but right into the awaiting glove on the left side of the infield. Mark Trumbo, one of those guys that gets underneath the baseball with a purpose, trying to get backspin, knock it out of here. His launch angle puts him amongst the top in the big league, 16.51 only on his team. Chris Davis is better. We explain a little bit further the impact and exactly what launch angle means for a hitter.
Launch angle is a measure of the vertical angle of a batted ball, indicating whether the ball was hit on the ground or in the air, and beyond that, to what extremes. A launch angle of 0 degrees would be right back at the pitcher's release point, and that means negative numbers are possible, indicating ground balls. Roughly 10 degrees to 25 degrees are where line drives live, and fly balls are between 25 degrees and 50 degrees. The sweet spot, so to speak, for launch angle is between 25 and 30 degrees, a narrow band straddling line drives and fly balls that accounted for 35% of all Major League home runs in 2015. Similar to exit velocity, launch angle is by itself a very useful tool in identifying the type of batted ball that was hit, but combining the two is vital in truly understanding batted ball distance. Let's show 3 batted balls that were all hit at an identical 100 miles per hour, but with hugely different results. Seattle's Nelson Cruz hit a ball off Houston's Colin McHugh at 100 miles per hour at a 30-degree launch angle, right within the ideal 25 to 30-degree sweet spot. 424 feet later, it was well beyond the left field wall. But while it's definitely possible to hit a home run at 100 miles per hour, it requires the right launch angle. Texas's Mitch Moreland also hits a ball at 100 miles per hour, but at a 50-degree launch angle, right on the border between a fly ball and a pop-up. In the other direction, Philadelphia's Ryan Howard had his own 100-mile-per-hour batted ball, but since it had a launch angle of just 10 degrees, it became a 4-3 groundout.
Joining us to the 5th inning, we go 4 innings in the books. 1-0 was the score. Now 2-0 is the score. And of course, another run added on the Red Sox on top of the Orioles. And for Mookie Betts, the home runs, the hits, the season, Jackie Bradley knocking it out of here. And then there's the story of Eduardo Rodriguez. 5 strikeouts, 1 base runner, no hits allowed.
No hits allowed. And I'm glad we're all on the same page here that we are not worried about jinxing anything, because 3 dudes in a studio a couple hundred miles away can have no impact on the outcome of this game. So let's say it loud, he has a no-hitter going, and I think that that's awesome and fun.
Right. No, he has a no-hitter. As a matter of fact, if we were sitting in the stadium and we were calling the game, we'd say the same thing.
I'm glad we're on the same page. I appreciate that.
Our job is to report. We don't play for the team. We're not in the dugout. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. Friends out on the internet, if you haven't seen the Doc Ellis video, please watch it, where the guy says, "You throwing a no-no?" He keeps reminding him. We can remind him from out here that he's throwing a no-no. He'll be fine.
John Shambi, who for ESPN, he's a friend, and he was asked about this, and he said, I was watching a game once, and I was watching the game for like a whole inning because I've been flipping through it, and I didn't know there was a no-hitter because they refused to say it. And that's silly. You have to inform people.
Sliding catch out there in left field, and a fine when we inform you that Reimhold left his feet. That ball was definitely squared up by Mookie Betts. Just a hard hit out. Woo.
So I don't have the data in front of me because it's going to take a second to compile. But my guess on that play is that that was not as hard of a play as Romo made it look by having to do the nice slide. Like, it looked pretty, but I'm going to guess if you look at the distance, you look at the hang time, probably wasn't particularly high in the difficulty scale. Would you agree?
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
Why I wouldn't agree is because if you've played left field really anywhere, that trajectory there, that's about the light's trajectory. And so the ball is getting dangerously close to being in the lights. And so he's just sort of running around the ball to make sure that it stays out of the lights. So you'll see guys do it with fly balls. They'll sort of run in a sort of strange roundabout manner to the ball, but all they're doing is trying to keep the ball out of the sun from their vantage point. So it's a little bit of that. That ball also could have been knuckling, so he's running around it so that if the ball is just coming at you straight, normal backspin, you have no problem catching that ball right in front of your face because it has no chance of knuckling past your glove and hitting you in the face.
Our T-Mobile greater coverage cam from high center field, peeking back in.
I would say that's the lights idea is fascinating. I hadn't considered that. So that's really interesting. And that's different at different parks, I imagine.
Yeah, it's different everywhere. And it's like as soon as you said that, I remember a time. I have several of them. Just that look from left field or right field. It's never center, just because of the lights. That just terrible, nightmarish trajectory where it's getting close to the lights, and you're just sort of running, and exactly like he was, sort of. You look unathletic, and it looks like you have no idea what's going on, but you're just worried about that ball getting into the lights.
Xander Bogaerts picks on a sweeping, looping, breaking ball over the outer half, pulls it into left field for a base hit. His first hit of the game. He's 1 for 3. And here's Ortiz. Big poppy to right field. He just missed it, didn't he? Oh, baby.
Boy, did I
off the sweet spot of the bat. Big Poppy had the uppercut going, just didn't get it on the sweet spot of the bat.
I was getting ready to scream.
Really?
He took a run at it. He took a run at 539, and he comes up a little bit short.
Oh, he was a little out in front, it looks like.
He only hit it 90.8 miles off the bat, which has been, I don't know, a handful of home runs that have been more softly hit than that, so obviously not enough to get out. Look at this. Most home runs in a final MLB season. Those are some names. And also Dave Kingman. No disrespect to Dave Kingman, but that is an impressive list of names.
My father was a teammate of Dave Kingman's in 1985 in Oakland, and he was a for sure 100% designated hitter. We'll remind you, too, that you are watching MLB Plus featuring StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. Dave would come to the ballpark when Dave wanted to get to the ballpark, and I mean that respectfully, because he'd hit homers when he got to the ballpark, but he lived in a harbor, much like you see in Baltimore, as that one is on the inside corner. Went back to a boat, lived in a boat, had 2 lockers. One of the lockers was for all of his life clothes, the other one for his baseball clothes. What he wore home to the boat, he wore back to the ballpark the next day. Rarely would he take batting practice, and he'd go down with his helmet and about 3 or 4 bats, sit on the end of the bench, and either strike out or hit a homer.
I mostly remember him for being on 4 teams in 1 year, which is always one of my favorite fun facts.
He was a good teammate. He was a real good teammate, but he was a unique player. Kind of an extreme stats freak player, you know? Kingman would have been fun, Mike, in this era to talk about the things he did.
He reminds me of, I don't know, kind of Trumbo-esque.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Lots of power, A little stretched in the outfield. Yeah, almost a one-tool player. Maybe that's a little harsh, I guess.
I don't know if Trumbo lives on a boat.
I don't know that either.
In the harbor. There's Hanley again, pounding one off his foot.
Talked a little bit about Hanley's adjustments to his stance. The thing that I left out is that he's over the ball. And he was a little bit more, he has his leg kick sort of softball thing going on that's getting, having its, resurgence in the last few years. But he's over the ball, and what that means is his chest is a little bit over it. If you were to pre-pitch, try to push him over, it'd be a lot harder today with this stance than it would be, say, last year when he was having some of those struggles. Barry Bonds was huge about that.
"32-year-old Hanley Ramirez began his career as a member of the Red Sox, signing as a free agent July 2nd, 2000, out of the Dominican Republic. He just did a nice job keeping that with him. Almost came up on him.
It's interesting, if you look at Gausman's pitches tonight, so obviously a lot of four-seam fastballs, and those are strikes or close to being strikes. And then we've seen sliders and splitters. The splitters are always to the catcher's glove side. Sliders are always to the catcher's, bare hand side. And that's basically what he's done. You can kind of tell from what side of the plate what kind of pitch that's going to be.
Tied up. Slow rolling, easy play at third out there made by Manny Machado. Again, the little sweeping slider away, then fastball in, a little bit too much. And well, he made the mistake in the fourth inning. Really out over the plate, overly aggressive and attacking Bradley with the home run there, but otherwise he's been all right. He really, really has been all right, reeling things in the last couple of innings. So Ashley Chavez is getting everything together in her Yasiel Puig fan club studios.
We're not doing that anymore, Darren. We're not doing that anymore.
That's why I said that for you. You've been joining in with Ashley. Let's give her the official intro. How is everyone doing, Ashley? I'll be more professional. I won't mention Yasiel Puig.
No, we should keep that going, actually. It's fun.
Okay,
it's
good.
our last show. Let's
Good,
do it.
Good.
No, everything is going great. I wanted to mention this earlier, so we're going to bring it up now. Guys, this is in the outfield at Coors. This is the Heltenberger Shack that was demolished by a home run during batting practice, and no one knows who hit it. People are saying Holiday, but no one knows for sure.
I'd be impressed if he did. Matt Holliday's got a broken thumb, I think.
Oh,
but
then, yeah.
I wish there was video of that happening, because I think that would be viral instantly.
Why is it a secret? I don't know. I need to know now. Anyways, pretty impressive. This one is from Ray B. He asked, will Mookie Betts take MVP?
Maybe. He might. I think. Well, how about this? I don't think he should because Mike Trout exists, but
Yes.
because Mookie Betts is on the Red Sox, who are going to the playoffs, he's got a real good shot at it because he's been outstanding, not only on both sides of the ball, but on the bases as well.
Hope for short athletes is what I have to say.
Very, very good stuff.
That's it, guys.
No, that's it. We'll wait for more on
Yes.
on your other subject.
There'll
We won't
be
even
more.
mention it. Yeah. Yasiel Puig.
Yasiel Puig.
The MVP board and certainly the discussion of who is in that MVP discussion. As you mentioned, Mike Trout, bias. That's who I agree with you. And there's so many positives there for Mike Trout. Sell me on someone else. Go.
Basically one of the two guys in the middle because they're playing in big games. Mike Trout has been good in this league for a while, and he doesn't play in any big games. Mookie Betts plays in big games. Josh Donaldson plays in big games. Jose Altuve plays in some medium-sized games. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. More hope for short players, which I'm all about. So I'd love to see any of the three guys on the left to get it.
So I have to be the Mike Trout fan club here and say,
I'm with you.
Playoffs don't matter. It's not Mike Trout's fault that they don't have a healthy pitcher or anybody else in the lineup. I will say this, Mike Trout has been the best player in baseball in each of his 5 years. The only time he's won the MVP was actually arguably his worst season. Why did he win it that year, as our editor Matt Myers reminds me? Because they made the playoffs that year. It's just such an insane system of voting where we're judging guys based on how good their teammates are.
Well, Mike, life isn't fair.
No, it's not.
But I'll tell you what, if you put it down in some big games, I think that means something. Who knows? Maybe we need a better definition of what the MVP really means. In my opinion, the players should vote for it, and I think that things would be a little bit more clear because players have a really, really great perspective for what everyone's doing.
0-2 the count to Jonathan Scope to lead things off here in the bottom half of the 5th inning. Baltimore trailing at 2-0 in the hands of Boston.
I have to briefly disagree with you
again
because you've got to vote.
I don't this year, but partially selfishly, you're not wrong. Partially, players didn't even vote Clayton Kershaw into the All-Star game last year. I feel like there's a lot of players who are really, really good at playing baseball. Some of the other stuff, they see who they see, and they like their friends. A guy playing for the Orioles, for example, how often does he see guys for the Padres? Right?
Yeah.
Or pay attention to somebody for the Diamondbacks.
No, you're exactly right. That I think that players, because they have inside knowledge about players, they maybe have some incentive to, not vote for some guys that deserve it. Maybe it should be some sort of happy medium between the deplorable system we have now and player voting.
Matt Wieters now with his opportunity. He struck out back in the 2nd inning. I say keep it exactly the way it is.
Yeah?
Because it's being discussed. And baseball and any other sport likes when their sport is discussed and debated, and that keeps it hot. So keep it the way it is. You can't get it much more scientific anyway. Mike Trout would love to be, as you say, putting it down in big games. He just hasn't had the opportunity. So Wieters takes a high strike, similar pitch that he swung right through to strike out back in the 2nd inning. No hits allowed so far for Eduardo Jose Rodriguez. He has gone 6 or more innings in 7 of his 17 starts, 7 or more innings in 3 of his 17 starts.
What I really love about him is an option for, even if he's not going to pitch one of those games in the postseason, to have him down there in the bullpen. I mean, we should probably pull up his splits and see how effective he's been against left-handed hitters, but just a valuable guy to have. Not that many people have these power arms, and if he's out there throwing, 94, 95, stretched out as a starter, I think that he'd be incredible as a reliever.
I agree with you, but it's an interesting question. Does he make the playoff rotation? I think he might. Obviously, Price and Porcello are in some order, your first two. Wright may or may not be healthy. Pomeranz has been kind of up and down. Rodriguez, pitching like this, maybe your 3rd best starting option?
Yeah. His next start becomes really huge. And, you actually just graze the topic that, I love talking about is, are knuckleballers good playoff pitchers? I don't really know. You should pull up Tim Wakefield's numbers and see how that's gone. Obviously, it hasn't gone so well for R.A. Dickey in the postseason. I don't know what the answer to that is, and especially coming off of an injury, we don't really know what we'll get from him.
Yeah, I would say also that's something that's very affected by weather for him. So as it gets colder, as it potentially gets wet, like deep in the playoffs, maybe that's something that kind of on a day-to-day basis you decide whether that's the pitch to have out there. I think that's a good point.
1-2 the count, bottom half of the 5th inning. 1 away, Matt Wieters. Talking about his 2nd half, how he has dipped even well below where he was in the 1st half. A 92 weighted runs created plus in the 1st half. And in the 2nd half, the number is 69. That one buries in. Now, to answer your question earlier about maybe working out of the bullpen, it's been righties that have been a little bit more handcuffed by Rodriguez this year anyway. 243, 303, 457, so it's a little bit more alarming slug than lefties. Lefties don't do quite as much damage against him. But with stuff like that one dives down and away. That almost looked like a changeup, but it was 89 miles an hour. I guess it was. Well, he just threw a hard changeup.
Yeah, his game plan's been pretty clear. Fastballs up, changeups and sliders down. And it's effective if it's not too predictable. We knew earlier in his career he had an issue with tipping pitches. I think that was a big problem for him last year. Is you knew which one of those things was coming, and there are not too many pitchers who can survive. If you can tell the other guy who's coming, maybe Kenley Jansen, maybe Aroldis Chapman. Not a lot of starting pitchers who can do that. So they seem to have ironed that out, and he's really incorporated this extra pitch to go with the fastball changeup.
Went back to his changeup and missed off the plate. All right, this is Trey Mancini out of Notre Dame. We were doing a great interview with Duke when he made his Major League debut. Congratulations. Welcome to the big leagues out of Winter Haven, Florida.
Who makes their debut as a DH? I mean, it's amazing. Just the way that you feel. I mean, he cannot cut his swing down. We saw him get a little bit big. I've made a Major League debut. You cannot cut your swing down. It feels like you've had 10 cups of coffee. But that might be a home.
Oh, that looked good.
Line drive out of here. First big league hit is his first big league homer for Trey Mancini.
I'm guessing he didn't feel any of those footsteps going around the bases.
That is a heavy high five right there.
111 miles off the bat, 434 feet. That is crushed.
Not much of a launch angle. What? What do we have there?
23 degrees?
Yeah, that was a screamer. I want to bring him back out to say hi to the crowd. Oh, curtain call they're asking for.
That's a
big fella.
A low fastball. He almost golfed that one a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations to Trey Mancini.
It's really big to get that one quickly out of the way. You get your first hit quickly out of the way. Now we can get a little bit comfortable and contribute because this is a guy that they may really need down the stretch. So, you hate to see somebody go, an 0 for 10 or something like that. You got to keep him on the bench. By then it's sort of a mental thing, and he's fighting, the game and fighting his nerves more than he's actually fighting the pitcher. It's good to see him get that out of the way and be able to contribute now.
Baltimore's 2015 Minor League Player of the Year last year. He went 359, 375, 569. Minor league, huge numbers for Mancini last year. Their Player of the Year as J.J. Hardy takes into the dirt. 16th home run allowed on the season by the left-hander. Home run distance. Well, they hit so many home runs, they're going to travel a long distance.
That is a lot of feet. And over by like about 10,000 feet over every other team. Look at that. That's Notice who's not on that top 5 list? Who would you expect?
Boston.
Colorado.
Oh, smarter.
No, obviously that relies on hitting a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Cardinals are up there too. They've been crushing a lot of homers. So it's fun to see what a huge gap that is.
Which has also been surprising, the Cardinals hitting so many homers. Didn't really think of them, built that way.
Yeah, they're hitting home runs and they can't play defense. Real Cardinal baseball.
Right.
Hardy, hot shot, base hit, right field, went down and got it. Does not hit it that way very often. All right, Trey Mancini, our StatCast version of your first big league hit, which is a homer.
Look at that, right on a line in left center there. 111 miles an hour. It's pretty hard to hit a ball that hard with any sort of launch angle and not have it go out. You can see 23 degrees. They said 25 to 30 is about the real sweet spot. You hit it that hard. 23 is more than close enough.
Another in-at-bat adjustment, which is the hardest thing for young players to do. Got big on a couple swings, and he's got a strike on him, and thinking, all right, I just got to put the bat on the ball, just play baseball, and you've got yourself a homer.
He knew it, didn't he?
He knew immediately.
It wasn't even a terrible pitch. I mean, that was low and inside. It might not even been a strike.
Bogarts. Nice easy toss on over to Marco Hernandez. We've had fun all year long bringing you the StatCast version of Major League Baseball games, and done it right here in this fun studio with a lot of insight and research. We're told they put together a best of. So here's a look back, the best of MLB Plus this year. Hi there, folks, with our MLB.com studio surroundings. My name is Darren Sutton. Certainly glad to have you with us.
And there isn't a guy in that locker room who's not wearing some sort of Madden Colt t-shirt.
Does it matter to throw a high-spin curveball? It very much does. When you have a spin rate above 3,000, baseball hits 155 on those pitches. There's the launch angle, 26 degrees, so we said 25 to 30 is about the best way you can do to hit a home run. And if you get between 25 and 30 and you hit the ball over 100 miles an hour, it's going to get out pretty much every last time.
What he does defensively for us, once again, whether it's the numbers defensively or whether it's the things that he does behind the scenes, he makes a difference.
It's been intense. You know, we've had some struggles. Guys have been coming out and playing us pretty tough, especially on the opposing pitching side. You know, it's been a grind.
I'm hunting the middle of the plate because he throws them all for strikes.
Have you been tweeting? I mean, seriously, have you been playing along like you're supposed to?
How did they get Ted Danson to anchor MLB Plus? We got really lucky.
Wow. Ted Danson.
That's a
Ted
pretty
Danson.
good. That's a pretty good comp.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice job this year. Nice job. Yeah.
It's been a good year.
This is we want your opinion on everything. You know, you're kind of the StatCast king.
I'll take that.
You know,
StatCast king. He is.
Very, very good day for Mike Petriello, by the way. All right, let's get back to the ballpark. We celebrate a year of our StatCast broadcast. By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
How about that?
Yeah. I share my birthday with some interesting people. The baseball writers, Jason Collette and Jonah Carey, and Gary Cole, Lundberg from Office Space. There's a lot of interesting people today.
That's good.
So yeah, I'm old now.
I share my birthday with Shakespeare.
Oh, you got me beat there.
Yes, I do.
Oh. Okay then.
It's okay. You have kids now, so your birthdays don't matter.
They don't. And my son's birthday, he shares with Michael Keaton, Jack Daniel, and Freddie Mercury.
Ooh.
He wins.
Yeah, he wins.
Very good stuff. Right back to work. Birthday boy and his crew as that one is fired over the outside. Travis Shaw, who is 0 for 2. He's lined to right field. He is grounded out. MLB Plus presented by T-Mobile. Greater coverage camera.
Well, it was a lot like spring training about, a month ago here for Travis Shaw winning his position definitively, going into the postseason. It looked like it was going to be Xander Bogaerts all over again with Yoan Moncada showing up with all of the hype, and Travis Shaw has persevered.
What a weird situation that was. They call up Moncada, basically say he's going to be the starting third baseman. Starts 4 or 5 games in a row. Hasn't started since September 6th. Hasn't played since September 12th. He's got 12 strikeouts and 20 plate appearances. I think it's clear he's not ready. But it was really odd that they kind of brought him up and said, okay, you're the guy for about 10 minutes, and now actually you're not the guy anymore.
It was strange. It wasn't handled well, but it may not have been the intention to handle it that way. It might have been, a story sort of drawn out of, a team official that wasn't really meant to be out in that way. I think Yoan Moncada is going to be a really, really good player, but, just like Bogaerts had to, sort of prove that the stage wasn't going to be a big deal. I mean, to make your debut just before making a playoff debut, you have to get a guy on the field and make sure that he's not going to, freak out when he's on the big stage.
Chris Young rolls that one to the right side. A couple of quick outs in this inning. 4 in a row sat down by Gausman, who is certainly restoring a little bit of order to his efforts. Jackie Bradley. He won on the attack against Jackie Bradley. Bradley won that battle. Challenged him twice. First time, Bradley came up empty. Challenged him the second time, and Bradley with his 26th home run of the year. 2-1 the score. Middle of the diamond into center field. A hard hit ground ball base hit. 2 for 3, Jackie Bradley.
Yeah, you're right, though. Bradley got him twice. Not just the home run, because he also took him about 380 feet to center in his first time up. So he really kind of got that timing down, squared him up the second time. Obviously, this one not quite as crushed, but it's base hit.
This is the first time, and obviously, when he got him, the second pitch he attacked him with.
Yeah, this is the second time up, and you can see, no doubt about this one. It's almost like he learned what he saw in the first pitch, realized what he just missed and was managed to make that adjustment, as you've been saying, adjustments in the game and in the at-bat. And, that's what Bradley did, was able to take that one out.
Sandy Leon, 0 for 2. Fastball dives out and away and off the plate to Sandy Leon, 27 years old. Signed with Washington as a free agent back in 2007. High extra base hit percentage at over 10%. League average is 7.6%. Split-fingered fastball misses away. The other thing he does, he jumps into hitters' counts a lot. 3-1 count rate, 12.5%. League average, 8.3. There's skill to that, patience, to be in that many 3-1 counts.
You can see this is why Gausman is so frustrating sometimes, right? You'll see some of these pitches and you go, oh, I get it. I get why everybody likes him so much. He throws 97 and then he drops that split on you. It's just the consistency never seems to be there, for more than a couple of pitches or a couple innings. Now, obviously, he's had a good run, but this is, he's been in big leagues for several seasons now. And they just keep waiting for him to finally pull it all together.
Well, he's 25, and when you're a phenom, you do a lot of your developing on television, on the big stage already. It takes a little while for these guys to mature and learn all of these things.
Sandy Leon, weighted runs created plus of 139. Who's who offensively amongst his peers?
I don't even think you could have gone to Vegas and made this wager, right? It's so out of just the possibility of what was realistic.
Looking down, absolutely looking down. That split-fingered fastball was what was in his thoughts there, and he got him to chase up. And a really, really good, effective pitch getting him to chase up and out of the zone. It's fast cast time. We'll take a look at what else is going on, StatCast style, if we have a chance around Major League Baseball. Yankees at Tampa. That one crushed to center field. Brad Miller, RBI triple off of Pineda, scoring Logan Forsythe, putting the Yankees up 1-0. 2-1, the Rays have grabbed the lead in that one. Kansas City at Cleveland. Indians going toe-to-toe with the Royals. Carlos Santana, Edison Volquez, goodbye. Solo shot. 33 for Santana. Tied at 1-1. It gave him at that point a 1-0 lead. We're tied at 1 in that one. Atlanta and New York, scoreless in Queens, Braves and Mets, as Drupal Cabrera with an RBI double off of Julio Teheran. Jose Reyes giving the Mets a 1-0 lead. They still lead by that score.
Time warp, seeing Reyes over there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
We told you how Eduardo Rodriguez does his stuff. Mike educated you with his pitch selection, and so this is what we have seen tonight.
Look at the changeup. That's what really stands out to me there. A little bit lower on the four-seamer, a little bit lower on the slider. Really working in that changeup, and as you pointed out earlier, Darren, the lefty-on-lefty changeup, it's been effective, and it's not something you used to see all the time back in the day, but that's been his big whiff pitch for the year, and he's really shown some nice ones tonight.
Changeup.
Yeah, lefty-on-lefty action right there. He's most effective. You can drop that changeup low, drop that slider low, and go high in the fastball. And you can see that one was called strike. I don't think they really like that one very much, but you can do that from the left side, 95 miles an hour, and then drop those breaking pitches or the slow pitches low. That's a really effective pitcher.
The Orioles have not liked left-handed pitching all year long. It's been tough. There's that changeup. That was a hard one.
Yeah.
Real hard changeup, only almost 90 miles an hour.
And you can see because the spin rate was a changeup, right? If it's below 2,000 like that, it's almost certainly going to be a changeup. It's a really good way, other than the eye test, to evaluate the kind of pitch you're seeing.
That's what we were talking about just a second ago. The Orioles and lefties have not been good partners.
What a weird mix of teams on this list, right? You have the Dodgers, who are almost certainly going to win the last three of the teams, the worst teams in baseball, and then the Orioles.
T-Mobile Greater Coverage Cam, taking a peek over the left shoulder of the talented left-hander, still just 23 years old. 23 years old. All right, away we go. Jones, Davis, Machado. Huge inning for Rodriguez. And he starts him with a changeup.
Knows he's coming after that first pitch.
I do like the first pitch changeup.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. You always talk about not wanting to be predictable. You can't always challenge guys with the first pitch fastball, especially a guy with Adam Jones. You're almost certain Adam Jones is going to swing at the first pitch. He's got one of the 3 highest first pitch swing percentages in baseball.
2 in a row.
So now that you've done this, your fastball looks like 100 miles an hour no matter how hard you throw this fastball. So, I mean, if you've got the command, this is where an elevated fastball
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly what you want right here.
Come on, Eduardo, do it.
And
Throw a
if he tries
third.
it-
Throw a third changeup in a row for me.
It'll tell you a lot about how confident he is, isn't it? There it is.
There it was.
Now, if we were all sitting here thinking elevated fastball, Adam Jones had to have been thinking elevated fastball.
Well, he's just fighting. I mean, he's at that point, he's just, trying to put the bat on anything that's close. You can tell that, a lot of those high fastballs that he's throwing, guys are still making contact with them. So there's not much deception there, or the fastball, it's like, easy to see, pretty straight. So that's why he really needs to, make sure that he elevates it and shows it. Because you can tell that the hitters are sort of lusting after it, making contact with it.
Well, you're right. He's got pretty much a league average spin rate on it.
Yeah.
So if he had a high spin rate on that high fastball coming in at 95 would be a little more effective because it would pop, it would stay up. And he doesn't quite have that, exactly as you said. The ball, doesn't have a ton of movement to it.
Exactly. I mean, more guys that have some movement or a little bit more deception, when you see a swing on a pitch that far out of the zone, you're rarely making contact, but you're seeing these guys are fouling off a lot of pitches that are all over the place.
1-2 the count on Jones. Boston leads it 2-1. Just trying to get started. It's been up after those couple of change-ups. It was all fastballs, 4 in a row up and out of the zone, and the southpaw won the battle again. Adam is 0 for 3.
Frustrating night for Adam. He's not helping himself.
Just kept waiting for something a little further down below his line of sight, and he kept chasing pitches that were up. 3rd time through the order, by the way, for Rodriguez this year. Opponent's OPS 826, the highest. First time 719, second time 763, third 826. So it's not surprising. Base hit left field. We were talking about the pull rate going down earlier for Chris Davis. He's rewarded that time with a line drive against a shift. That's a pretty swing. And you like a base hit in front of Manny Machado. The Baltimore fan, you do.
Gausman did a really good job just getting them right back here. I mean, Eduardo had his worst inning last inning, and he's right back on the ropes again. Great job by Gausman.
Manny flied to left. He has walked. He was the first base runner of the game for Baltimore. Slider in. Want to know the
probably in.
Pretty good pitch. Pitch FX on game day had it in. Off the end of the bat, little roller. This is not going to be an easy play. Will they get one out? They do. Wow.
He should be out. He slid into first base. I'm glad he got called out.
That's Marco Hernandez with that play, not Dustin Pedroia, trying to get that knee healthy and strong. That's a nice play by Hernandez. Base runners all around, funky spin on that ball.
Absolutely.
Why, Manny? Why? I'd love to see that same view in slow motion again, and see if we could really see if doing that kind of ruined his chance to be safe.
I think he's out either way, but I don't understand why you do it there. Basically, they tell you when you're running to first base, watch the first baseman's feet. If he's bracing to jump, that's a time that you dive. But especially now with the instant replay. So, we don't have to dive to seem more safe to win the call from the umpire. It just shouldn't happen.
But that's interesting. They teach you to dive on a play that won't be a tag?
What they'll teach you to do is if you're running down the line, if you can imagine you're running down the line and you see the first baseman bracing to catch the ball, if you see him getting ready to jump, that means that the throw is going to be high, you should dive. That's the only time that you want to dive, so that you would be avoiding that, that tag from a jumping first baseman.
Oh, like the swipe tag.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
That's really the only time that you want to do it. And, in history, obviously, they did it to seem safe to a base umpire, and that's no longer necessary, so it just shouldn't happen.
0-1 the count to Mark Trumbo. Fly to center field. Line to the right side. Chris Davis, his exit velocity on that base hit, 105.7 miles an hour. Manny Machado on his ground out, 50.6 miles an hour. There's that changeup underneath it, so it stayed high. A little sidearm changeup there. Follow him on Twitter at mtrumbo44. I have no grade or rating for his Twitter activity. Haven't checked it out. I think I felt very strongly about recommending Adam Jones.
I wonder where Trumbo lands next year. I mean, it's Nelson Cruz all over again. He's probably not coming back to Baltimore. Mike, how does he spray the ball? Like, where, can you think of a ballpark that's a good fit for him?
I mean, he's got so much power. He can hit the ball out of any park. Yeah. It's really going to come down to a team that ideally can play him at DH, or he should be in the American League.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or first base. He's a fine first baseman. And a team that looks past the fact he doesn't really get on base and doesn't add any defensive value. I mean, he's a one-tool player for the most part. Now, that tool is extremely impressive. The raw power, obviously, is legit, and teams pay for power. So it is going to be really interesting. You almost wonder, does he fit with the Red Sox, right? He's
what I was thinking.
And, with Hanley Ramirez, and obviously they're both righties, it's not really a platoon situation, but between first base and DH, you have two guys who can do a little bit of both. I imagine Mark Trumbo pounding the ball off the wall.
Absolutely.
In left field, that could be pretty fun.
Well, they're going to need a DH. 1-2 the count. Nope, wouldn't chase up and out of the zone.
Well, he likes to shave, so he could play for the Yankees as well.
2 balls and 2 strikes to count. Trumbo talking to his bat right there in his hands. We told you lefties are a kryptonite for him. Runs created plus at 64 for Mark.
Living on that dangerous edge of the top of the zone right there. I mean, it's amazing. It's like a ball under that, and that is just a delicious snack for Mark Trumbo.
I just feel like, there are so many years and years and years you have pitchers taught by guys like Leo Mazzoni, keep the ball down, keep the ball down, keep the ball down. And then hitters really started thinking about that, right? And that's what the A's did for a couple of years. They started buying up guys who were low ball hitters, and that was a really big success for them. And I think pitchers have learned that. And the guys who can do it, who are starting to go up at the top of the zone, they're really finding success. It's just hard to do, or do it right anyway.
Yeah. You're exactly right. And as the scouting reports and stuff gets better, you have an idea of who's better at hitting the ball low and who's better at hitting the ball high. I mean, as surprising as it is, Trumbo actually crushes the ball low and in, and he doesn't hit the high ball, necessarily better than he hits, other pitches. It's like actually where you want to get him. It's just that if you are somebody that watches the MLB Network highlights, you just see him hitting so many home runs off of pitches, seemingly everywhere.
And you can see all they're doing this at bat is attacking him high, high. That's the first one that was low. Everything else was high, 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 because I think exactly what you just said. They have the scouting reports too. They know he crushes the ball low. And I do like that one low because it changes his eye level, but it's in the dirt, right? He's not really going to be able to get good with it.
Slider. Tried to get him to chase, and the pitch is started at the bottom part of the strike zone. He's hitless in 10 career at-bats against the left-hander, Mark Trumbo, 30-year-old slugger. Angels' 18th round pick a long time ago, back in '04, local kid for that part of the world in Orange County, California.
a good draft. Find Martin Trumbo in the 18th round.
You're back in.
You're doing a good job.
He can pitch, too. I mean, he threw hard in high school.
Yeah.
It seems, I think people think he's coming to Baltimore and all of a sudden turning into this power hitter, but he's really credited Edgar Martinez. He was the hitting coach in Seattle last year, and he played pretty well, late in the year last year with the Mariners after being traded. He's kind of credited him. He's the guy that sort of helped him kind of access that power.
The heart of the order entering Tuesday, the danger, the power, the homers. And people plunk down their dollars to come see the long ball, and this Orioles club has done it. They need more people coming through the turnstiles, though. Swing and a miss. Down he goes on a changeup. Rodriguez with a big reaction. He pulled the string. He got Trumbo.
I love that changeup. That's easily his best pitch, and it's been really impressive tonight.
Big stuff here. High fives all around. Trumbo leaking out front. He had tried the slider down. That didn't work. The changeup did. Darren O'Day is back healthy again, working in the bullpen. The Florida Gator alum has had a couple of things go wrong this year. Hamstring cost him some time, but this past time he cost himself a month. He's just glad that rotator cuff strain has him back, has him active, has him healthy. And before the game, we caught up with Darren O'Day, who knows he's going to be very important as Baltimore rolls to the end of the season and into postseason.
It was a lot of baseball watching, so I'm glad to be back and be helping the guys. The bullpen guys especially did a great job in my absence. So I'm just trying to add to what they did while I was gone, and I couldn't be more excited to be back. I could talk for a long time about Zach. Looking, if you knew where he came from and you saw how much he struggled and how much he doubted, himself, and to see him kind of ascend through his own hard work to be what I consider the best closer in the game now. And when you keep in perspective the fact that hitters pretty much know it's coming and they still can't hit it, it makes him all that much more unbelievable. So I can't say enough good things about him.
Well, that's good stuff. O'Day, by the way, with runners on this year, and he's glad that he's healthy again. Opponents at 174 with an on base of 283. This bullpen has some strength added onto it. We bring Jim Duquette back in, and you get a guy like Darren O'Day, Duke, and you already know what you have with the other pieces of your bullpen, specifically Britton. He was talking about him, but when you have a guy get healthy on you, it's almost like you made an acquisition for a player who's eligible late in September.
Yeah, it's a huge one for them, especially for Buck, who is so masterful using his bullpen. You used him his first day back against the Rays. He ended up giving up a first pitch home run opposite field to Dickerson. It was one of those days where, from O'Day's side of things, you go, he in his mind, it's been a little bit of a rough season for him when you factored in, as you mentioned, his injuries and in that first outing. But he is going to be a big factor. There's no denying that. And I think, interestingly, is how does Buck use him late in the game? Because he's used Brock in that 8th inning, and he's used Michael Givens in the 7th. And does he get O'Day opportunities in the 7th and 8th? I think he will, and I think you're going to see it real soon because he trusts O'Day. He's seen what he's done over the last couple of years.
Jim, everybody in the world wants to know if Zach Britton's going to rank highly in the AL Cy Young. Your opinion?
You know what? I think he's going to get some votes. I don't know it's going to be quite as high as everyone thinks, but I think generally it's going to end up going to starting pitcher mostly, and they look at the workload aspect of it. I asked Britton about it last week, and he's very matter of fact. He doesn't even think about it. He heard some of the conversation, some of the reporters were bringing it up, but he doesn't. He tries not to think about it. I think he's got enough pressure on himself already. When you look at the fact that he hasn't blown a save all season long, he hadn't given up an earned run until the middle of the summer. So I think he's handled that pressure well, and he's worrying more about the American League East and helping his team than he is the Cy Young. And I try to get some people in his family to help promote him, or even his agent, Scott Boras, who's here tonight.
Yeah, you've been knowing Mr. Britton for quite some time, haven't you?
I have. You know what? We drafted him back in, I think it was 06. And he's been, he's a kid when we drafted him out of high school in Texas. He didn't lack in confidence at the time. We thought he was going to be a starting pitcher. And up until a couple of years ago, he was a starting pitcher, and he was more of a failed starting pitcher. I remember back, 3 years ago now, they were trying to figure out, okay, Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, said, you know what he reminds me of? And Darren, you'll remember Johnny Ventures. You guys all remember Johnny Ventures, left-handed sinker baller. Because I think he could be Johnny Ventures. All of a sudden, they give him an opportunity to close out games, and he's been one of the best closers in the game.
So Gausman, his last 5 starts, he's been crazy good, giving up 3 runs in 33 innings. He kind of stumbled through the early parts of this game tonight. But here we sit with his team in the game in the 7th inning.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that I've really noticed with him over the last 7 starts. I think it's gone back a little bit further than that, guys. But his aggressiveness. I thought he was picking a little bit in the strike zone early. Wasn't really being aggressive with the fastball. Used his split finger a lot. And I think he was a little worried. It was his second time around here facing the same lineup again. But he's gone back to using the fastball. He's shown good life in that fastball too. And that, to me, he's pitching with a ton of confidence. I think that's the one thing that stands out versus the first half.
Mookie Betts lines that one to the right side. A couple of runners on for the Red Sox. Runners on first and second here in the top of the 7th.
So we're going to see Gausman head through Murderer's Row for the 3rd time here. We haven't really heard much about Gausman, going into uncharted territory with his innings. That hasn't really been in the media much, and obviously he's had some minor league starts. Is that, part of the conversation at all? Have people been talking about that at all?
Fernando, they've looked at it a little bit, but they keep both Buck, Showalter, and Dan Duquette talk about he and Bundy almost the same way. And Bundy was protected even more, as you guys know. But they are not as concerned about either one right now. They think that Gausman can certainly handle the workload moving forward. And interestingly, Bundy, they have the same feeling as well. We talked to my cousin about a month ago when we did the last MLB Plus game, and he said, these guys, there's no rhyme or reason yet on them breaking down. We know workloads. We're careful with workloads in between starts, but we're not going to be overly cautious with them and shut them down. And I think that's a little bit of a change from what we've seen with other teams.
You're the best, Duke. We appreciate it.
Guys, we'll talk to you. Bye.
You bet. Jim Duquette joining us. So, interesting thing that happens in high leverage situations this year with Gausman. Opponents he's in the heart of one right now. 212, 246, 319 triple slash. We'll see if that holds true. But right now, he is working in one of those back against the wall situations here in the top of the 7th inning. Want to see how he responds. Pretty good pitch. 1-1 the count. Double plays, 17 of them. That's how many he has rolled up. It's 14% of the time when he has an opportunity to roll up a double play. That's 3 percentage points above league average. Bogart's 1 of 3. By the way, are you kidding me with Mookie Betts with another hit? I mean,
what do you think would happen if he got traded?
Look at this. So I was off, by the way. I said 600 was the average. The 600 was the on base earlier, so now it's up to 611.
Yeah, it's only 533.
Sorry.
You're right. We sold him short.
The 8 homers, though.
Yeah, the 8 homers in another team's ballpark. I mean, think about how many guys don't have 8 home runs across an entire season of baseball. And he's done it just visiting Baltimore, and he's not even done with the Baltimore part of the schedule yet.
He's got 3 hits tonight, 3 for 4, and lined out to left field in the 5th inning.
Well, he had to pay for those 2 duck fart hits that he got.
So there's that high fastball, and also 98.6 miles an hour. If you can elevate that, that is just about unhittable. Now, that's an above-average spin rate.
I was going to say, that had some spin on it.
I don't know if that's elite, but it's definitely above average. You put a high-spin fastball at that velocity, at that part of the strike zone, or just above it. I mean, there is nobody who's going to get their hands up high enough, quickly enough to make good contact.
Does it make a difference? It may not be above average. It's above his average, though.
It's above his average, and it's above the league average. It's higher than most pitchers you'll see, right?
When you're a hitter thinking, okay, he's going to try and get me on the ground. He's going to, as you talked about earlier, challenge low. He got that.
Yeah, well, Mookie puts the bat on everything. Xander, he puts the bat on everything. And so you know, he's seeing another fastball high. He's like, I think I can foul that one off, but it just rides right through him.
All right, David Ortiz. Statcast, we look back at the high spin of this pitch.
Oof. You want to talk about late life, a rising fastball? That's exactly what that was. And it was really just, it was located perfectly. It wasn't so high that this hitter's not going to go after it. It wasn't too low that we saw the Jackie Bradley pitch before he's able to square it up. It's perfectly placed. That's about the best you can do with that pitch.
1-1 that counts. This is fun.
Well, here we are in the 7th inning, up to 99 pitches, and he's still rocking 97 and 98 miles an hour. I mean, this, he's been a little inconsistent tonight, I think, but you can clearly see why the Orioles like this guy so much.
MLB Plus features StatCast, and it's powered by Amazon Web Services. We're glad you're with us. David wags that bat, beaten in with a fastball, 99 miles an hour. Tommy Hunter was up warming in the bullpen. Saw a quick shot of him. He was added at the end of August to the Baltimore Orioles. He's getting hot. Pitch number 101. About to come home. David is 1 for 3. The 1-2 Ortiz. High fly, ball center field. Gone!
Come on.
That better have gotten out the way he stood there and looked at it.
I was just thinking to myself right before that pitch that the fact that Gausman is in at this point, facing David Ortiz with 100 pitches, it's basically answering the question, who gets that ball in one of those, one-game playoffs.
Career home run, number 539 for David Ortiz. Boston leads it 5-1.
They have to work something out. They have to work something out.
To bring him back?
To bring him back. They got to work something out. I know that it's his feet. It's just being on his feet.
Do you see him run? It looks so painful to see him run.
I know.
104.5 miles an hour off the bat. 408 feet. That's 19 times he has gone over 400 feet with home runs then. 19 times this year.
Why don't they just get him a walker? He should just hit and then immediately.
What about a designated runner off to the side?
Go on to the walker.
Sign him to one of those.
Just stay off of his
Remember
feet.
when Clemens came back and they're like, you can pitch only whenever you want to or only at home? Just tell him he can only hit at Fenway. He only has to hit at Fenway.
Wow, wow, wow. David Ortiz. Final season, 36 home runs now. Tommy Hunter is on. The StatCast look back at this one.
That is a rough way to end your night by Kevin Gausman, because there's a lot of good things, but we saw this 100, as the pitch was not 104 miles an hour, the pitch was 97 miles an hour, a little bit low and outside, and the ball went out quite a bit harder than that. 30-degree launch angle, which is basically about as good as you can do for home runs. No doubt about that. And we saw, I'm actually going to look it up in a second, how long do you think it took David Ortiz to round the bases? Because he took about an hour to watch the ball.
That's all right.
30.2 seconds. I have the answer here.
Nice. I mean, they left him out there because he's their guy. I mean, that's the guy that you want to do that right there.
Yeah, I hate to second guess the choice because I didn't first guess the choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're complimenting him for throwing 97, 98 with these high spin pitches. And, in retrospect, I get the argument why he should have been out quicker, but I certainly understand why Showalter was hesitant to do so because he looked so good.
He looked good, and he's your guy. I mean, this is one of those times really to talk about bringing in your closer in a non-closing situation. That's the most important situation of the game right there.
Those are the numbers for Gausman, and just to finish your thought, they had him in there in this situation. I love that conversation, by the way.
I don't think you're wrong, but if Zach Britton entered the game in that situation, I would have passed out and fallen off this chair. There's just no way that would have happened. It's certainly a good argument.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely the most important part of the game. You know, when we look back at the turning point, unless, you know, some more crazy things happen, that's the turning point of the game. And you have possibly the best pitcher in the game, you know, just in the bullpen.
Tommy Hunter comes on, Texas, Baltimore, then with the Cubs, Cleveland, and then back signed as a free agent this summer.
A lot of lives for Tommy Hunter.
He has worked in now 9 appearances, the right-hander. With this squad, he worked 21 times with Cleveland. Field independent pitching, short study of it this year, has it at 2.98 on the season. Tough to apply to relief pitchers, or at least tougher to have it as an indicator. Mike, what's your favorite way to evaluate relief pitchers? Is it just straight innings pitched, strikeout rate, ground ball rate?
Strikeouts. Strikeouts the very first thing I look at, because for relievers, there's less margin for error. Let's say a Kyle Hendricks is a starting pitcher. You can get that soft contact, you can get grounders, and that's all well and good. But when there are men on base in a late one-run game, just a poorly placed batted ball can really hurt you. And I think that's part of the reason why Zach Britton is so effective. He gets a ton of strikeouts, but he also gets those softly hit ground balls, right? He's kind of the best of both worlds, but really number one I look at is strikeouts.
Same?
Yeah, I mean, just like Mike is saying, inherited runners, I mean, you really have to put out fires and put them out, you know, decisively. So it is really important. Also walks, too, because you know, cannot have that when there are runners on base.
Yandy Ramirez grounds out to the left side for the second time. He is hitless in his last couple of at-bats, drove it a run with the fielder's choice in the 3rd inning and walked in the 1st.
I don't want to distract from our game too much, but I have to point out Gary Sanchez just hit another home run. That's 17 for him. He's been up for about 10 minutes.
Best player I've ever seen.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
That's high praise.
You got them all excited.
Best player
I've been hearing about him all through the weekend.
Best player I've ever seen. Well, look, when guys make their debut and pitchers haven't seen them, I mean, what did we say about Puig when he came up? Best player I've ever seen.
How'd that work out?
I mean, yeah, well, you know, still a pretty good player. Who knows, you know, what the, you know, regression line will be like for Mr. Sanchez next year. But, you know, he's throwing guys out. He's hitting home runs. He's making it look really easy as well.
The only thing I know for sure is that the Yankee fans are going to be disappointed by whatever he does next year.
Absolutely.
Because he's not going to be able to live up to basically being the greatest player.
Yeah, he has to win the Triple Crown.
Right.
26-year-old Travis Shaw has the count in his favor at 2-0.
Maybe pick up a couple saves that he also catches.
Good pitch. Darts over the outside at almost 97 miles an hour off that right arm of Hunter.
You know, Hunter's another one of those guys. You see the raw tools, and you're always wondering why isn't he better, right? He throws 95. He throws with high spin. He's got some movement on his pitches, and he's had his moments. He's never really been able to put it together. I think he's trying to be a starter early in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty decent for the Orioles as a reliever. Went to the Indians and fractured a bone in his back at a household incident earlier this year, and now back with Baltimore.
Right under the hands. Good dive on that one. Had the look of a cut fastball.
Tommy Hunter's also got a lot of deception. I faced him and did not enjoy it really at all.
What causes the deception for him? Release, extension?
It's just the way the ball comes out of his hand. It just sort of explodes. You know, some guys, it really feels as if the ball is being sucked out of their hand just because of the ball appearing late. Sort of the Tyler Clippard effect, where he throws elbows and gloves at you before the ball.
Wow, David Ortiz. David Ortiz. He did it again. 539 career home runs. Quite stunning. Ashley Chavez, social media, and a lot of love and affection for your segment. It's been very popular.
Hey, that's so nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, let's get to it. We have some tweets, and I want to read them. This one is from Dylan Rodriguez. He says, going into next season, assuming both Hannigan and Leon are both with the Red Sox, who do you all have starting?
Well, I don't know that I would assume Ryan Hanigan's back with the Red Sox next year, right? He's getting up there in age. He hasn't really been that successful.
Right, but they're asking you to assume.
Well, I'm going to assume the truth. Listen, the way Sandy Leon's hit, I don't see any way that you can't give him the starting job, even though I don't have high hopes that he will actually keep this up for another year. But he's got to be the guy going in. And don't forget about Blake Swihart, who's still there. He was a highly regarded prospect. Christian Vasquez is still around, too. So they have nothing but catching depth in Boston.
Right on. Good to know. We'll see what happens. Next from Guess Who, Dave Bierman Evans. He tweets, do pitchers with one high spin rate pitch tend to have more than just one spin rate a transferable skill?
That's a good question. I have an answer. What do you guys think? What's your...
Works that way with Edwards, right? Carl Edwards?
Well, so my answer, and I will say I haven't done exhaustive research on this, is sometimes. So, for example, yes, you're right about Carl Edwards. Rich Hill, another guy's got a high spin curveball, very high spin fastball. But then, Seth Lugo is our favorite guy. He's got a very high spin curveball. He's only got a slightly above average spin fastball. So the answer is a lot of guys, yes, but not always, which is to say that's not a very satisfying answer at all.
Got it. And lastly, we have this gift from Trey Mancini's mom. Cool. Look at how excited she is. After his home run, she is so pumped. This is the cutest. I love these moments so much. They're the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great.
That reminds me of Williams from the Pirates when he got his first win a couple weeks ago and his dad was there. Those are great.
That was the sweetest. Also, lastly, happy birthday, Mike.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you.
Woo!
Nice job, Ash. Thank you. Ashley Chavez joining us. Couldn't even play along, man. You couldn't even just assume that. You couldn't even assume. They're just asking you to assume.
What has Ryan Hanigan done this year to think that he'll be back next season?
Uh-oh. Into the left field corner, off the wall. Played on a bare hand nicely by Chris Young. Not a whole lot of arm there. What's going on here? Scope, did he stumble coming around the bag?
Yeah.
He had to have. He had to have, yes.
He stumbled, and then there's a little miscommunication of who was supposed to be at second base. I think
because they had an out there with the stumble, right?
Absolutely. I think Hernandez was, well, he just
wasn't
where he's supposed to be. What a route.
There was nothing pretty about that from either side.
It's a double. Might not have been pretty, but it's his 36 doubles for that man. 36.
That's a big inning here for Eduardo. He's really, that run can score, but he's got to get some outs.
There's one.
He's been very fortunate with lineouts today. I mean, a bunch of decently hit balls. Maybe, that ball wasn't super well struck, but a lot of luck has gone his way tonight.
He did him a favor by trying to pull that pitch, didn't he? That may, in fact, be it. Barnes getting hot down in the pen. Matt, the UConn alum, and Rodriguez. Boy, what an outing, huh, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
You go first, your assessment.
You just got to be really happy with that. I mean, made it through the lineup a few times, just kept them in the game. Really got to be happy with that. That's maybe a guy that throws game 4.
Yeah, incredibly impressive. And we said he'd added that slider to kind of give the hitters a new viewpoint. Threw the slider 13 times tonight. But it was really the changeup. Right? And we saw it. He's going to be a changeup here, I think, to a lefty. That changeup is a majorly out pitch. And if he can continue to refine that, the high fastballs at 95, 96 miles an hour, and work on the slider, it's that third pitch that'll get guys off of those first 2 pitches. He is probably their third best pitcher right now. Right now, he's starting a playoff game, which, considering how he started the year and then he hurt his knee, that's kind of stunning to see how far he's come back.
It's amazing how the demotion can really do it. It really works a lot of the time. I mean, he got sent down and came back, and he's just been lights out for them.
Well, it works if you go down and work on something, right? And you handle it like a professional?
Sure, too, but sometimes it's just the complacency that you have from being a big leaguer. You're up there, you're going to pitch every 4 or 5 times. Maybe you're, enjoying yourself. Not to say that you're enjoying the life too much and you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, but you just might be caught up in it and just having a little bit too much fun. And when you're up there, the whole point is figuring out how to stay and how to stay for a long time. And, it could have been just that prick in the butt that made him pick it up.
So, Trey Mancini, and what a moment he provided for all of us. Mancini, his first big league hit, it was his first big league homer, and it was, you saw Mom's reaction, there are the numbers.
Yeah, it was the appropriate reaction because this was no cheapie, right? I mean, this is a ball that goes out probably pretty much every park. 111 miles an hour after that is smoked. A really good launch angle, 434 feet. Look at her. That is exactly the way that you should feel when you see your son crush a ball like that.
So we get to see him again, Mom. For Mr. Mancini, Mom, by the way, Floridian. He grew up, though he went to Notre Dame, Winter Haven, Florida. 112 players have been drafted all time out of Notre Dame. Great counsel, that's a Notre Dame guy. Cap Henson, historically a Notre Dame guy. Yaz.
Do you have the full list of 112 handy?
I don't have
Okay.
him. No. He and I aren't on that list, I can tell you that.
Nor I.
Trey Mancini, a little bit of the bio on the young slugger. And he faces Matt Barnes. Barnes out of UConn. Barnes comes on for the 58th time this year. An ERA of 4.10, field independent pitching of 3.66, and the breaking ball is over the inside corner, strike one.
And Matt Barnes throws 97 miles an hour. And pretty much everybody in the bullpen these days throws 97 miles an hour. But he's got the big arm. You mentioned his ERA in the fours. He was a lot better in the first half. The first half, 293 ERA, 315 on base against. Second half, 653 ERA, 360 on base against. He's really not even so much a home run problem. He's just been getting hard hit balls all over the place. So important for him to kind of get back to the way he was if he wants to be a big part of this bullpen in the postseason.
Exit velocity against averages 90, almost 91 miles an hour, 90.93. Contact rate is down a little bit this year, which is good news. But as you said, it's been pretty solid contact when it's been made. Out of Danbury, Connecticut. I'll recommend him, by the way, as a Twitter follower. At Matt Barnes, RHP. Right-handed pitcher. At Matt Barnes, RHP. That's a recommendation. I'm making it.
Yeah, there's that 97 mile an hour fastball, but it's not exactly a competitive pitch in the sense that no hitter is going to go after that.
It almost hurt to watch him throw that.
Yeah, well, it looks like that ball moved quite a bit, and sometimes relievers they just they don't know where it's going. Got to get ready so quickly. I mean, I talked to Wade Davis about that this year. Is that when you get ready quickly, you have no idea where the ball's going to go some days. You just got to kind of work with what you've got.
Wags that bat, settles solid. Bender dives away, 2-2 the count. Good hard slider, 91 miles an hour.
It's a great job by the catcher calling that pitch, knowing that he just doesn't know where his fastball is going right now.
Yeah, that actually is a fastball. That has that much cut on it.
Yeah, at 91 though.
Logged as a fastball. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what that was.
All I know is that I don't know that anything about baseball has changed more over the years than the fact that you can see 91 with movement. Right?
Yeah. He's got to get over there. Oh, easy. Lob flip to Barnes. Covering. 3-1 on the ground out. Runner moves to third in the scope after that double. Lead off the inning. They welcome JJ. You can hear that as he is announced.
So JJ Hardy's been the best hitter in September for Baltimore, which is great. They have a good lineup. He's had just the weirdest year though. He got hurt, he injured his foot, and he was out for 6 weeks or so. And he comes back, and in June, he was terrible, 250 on base. In July, he was awesome, 370 on base. And in August, he was terrible, 250 on base. And so far in September, 419 on base, 518 slugging. It's just one of the weirdest up and down seasons after this injury that I think we've ever seen.
Absolutely. And while he was, on the shelf and Manny Machado was, playing short most of the time, I think that people were saying, look, this is the future. Manny Machado's, playing shortstop. But, I don't know if I agree with that. For me, I feel that you can get a lot more out of a hitter if he's playing third base. When you're playing shortstop, you're involved in so many plays. It is just such a larger aerobic exercise. Like the day is just so much busier, and I just think that you can produce more over at the corners, one of the corners. So I like keeping Manny Machado right where he is.
Yeah, I used to want him at shortstop, but after 2 knee injuries, I think that ship has sailed. Obviously, part-time basis, he did a fine job, but long-term, I agree with you totally.
The 1-1 to J.J. Hardy paints the outside corner. A nice play for the second out of the inning, made at first base by Hanley Ramirez. He made a fine play last night as well.
I'm glad you used the phrase "paint the corner" there, because that is exactly what Matt Barnes has done. If you've watched him closely, he has not thrown anything down the middle. Every single pitch he's thrown, except for that one that was high and away, has been right on the edges, and that's impressive for a guy who throws that hard.
Absolutely.
J.J. puts a breaking ball on the ground. Everybody's safe. It's 5-2, and J.J. Hardy has an RBI.
Orioles finally get a little bit of luck. Finally. Back to what you're saying, there's nothing that's more annoying as a hitter than when you see a pitcher, throwing uncompetitive pitches, struggling to get the strike zone, and then the next pitch is just right on the corner. It's so annoying. On the other side, there's nothing more annoying than executing a pitch and doing everything you're supposed to do and having that happen, the swinging bunt.
What do you think the exit velocity is on that? 60?
It depends how long they calculate it for. I mean, it rolled for a while, so.
We may see a pinch hitter. We'll see. Young Soo Kim had a bat. They will call for Kim out of Seoul, South Korea.
Kim is pretty much the definition of a platoon player. And what I mean by that is that it's late September. He has 0 hits in 20 plate appearances against the lefty. He's been on the team all season long.
Oof. They didn't have lefties like that back in the Korean League. We're definitely going to see a lot more, Korean players coming over and making an impact in Major League Baseball. But you think there's a premium on left-handed pitchers here. Obviously, over in a league like Korea, you're not going to see that many really quality arms left-handed.
On base of 382 this season for Kim.
He was the one who they wanted to send him to the minors when he came over, and there was the whole big brouhaha about his contract wouldn't allow it, and maybe they'd let him go and just try to send him back. And he's ended up being a pretty useful player. And it was interesting. He talked to Saras of Fangraphs about it, and what he basically said was that spring training is very different over here. In Korea, it's more about preparation than being evaluated. You kind of already know you're on the team, and you just use that time to work and get better. Here, it's different, especially when you're a new player. They're trying to evaluate you and see if you are, really going to be good enough. So he spent his time trying to learn the strike zone, because the strike zone's a little bit different. And the production wasn't coming. And for most players, I think, in his position, you don't have to worry about the spring training numbers, but for a new guy, you did, and that was kind of the issue.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, the spring training, similar in Japan, that the first month of spring training, and again, it's a 2-month spring training. The first month, guys say that they don't even touch a glove or a ball. It's just all getting the body ready. And spring training in America used to be very much like that. Guys were, meeting their glove for the very first time in spring training.
They would have unrelated off-season jobs sometimes.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, they stay in shape year-round.
Absolutely.
We mentioned Cap Anson earlier as a Notre Dame alum. Cap Anson used to say about spring training, it's the time when I sweat the alcohol out of my system. From the good times I had, and that's a quote. That's a quote.
Yeah.
From the good times I had throughout the winter, get those microbes out of my system. Not anymore. 1-2 the count. Different look for this man out of Korea, South Korea. That one spikes in there from Barnes.
I had a coach say, this is no longer spring training. This is spring make an effing team. Almost came out.
It's okay. It's the internet.
5-2 the score. Kim has 4 home runs this year. He slugs .413. 16 doubles, 1 triple. Rolled into center field for a base hit.
I thought he was going to test him. You can see Hernandez is shaded over a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a double play ball. Unlucky outing here for Barnes.
Side Wheeler Brad Ziegler warming in the pen. Looks like he will be called upon, the closer for the Diamondbacks, before coming over. Now fits into that bullpen. We take a look back at J.J. Hardy hustling up the line. Let's see where he reaches. Max speed, StatCast. 7 miles an hour, that little swinging bunt base hit.
So he's fighting a little bit of a limp, but that might just be the natural baseball limp that you have from all the left turns and all the right-handed swings. I mean, every baseball player, you can tell by the walk.
We take a look at what is going on around Major League Baseball nationally, and we start with Jacob deGrom undergoing elbow surgery and out for the rest of the season. Daniel Murphy, second straight game, is watching. And ended up pinch hitting later on in the game, and Dustin Pedroia not getting the start in this game. Left knee soreness, so out of the contest, some of our news and notes.
And you wonder if Dustin Pedroia maybe gets to that ground ball. You know, I mean, Hernandez is a good defender, so maybe not. But it'd be interesting to see if the regular second baseman was there, if that ends up looking different.
When I look at that board, I just think Jacob deGrom, another star pitcher going under the knife. You know, we're not really sure. Obviously, you know, Mike, you might be able to speak about Jeff Passan's book that he wrote this year about the arm. But, you know, as things are getting more competitive, we're seeing guys are no longer afraid of, you know, going into deep counts. Everybody's throwing something that moves. Everybody's trying to throw a cutter, putting all this English on the ball. It's just sort of the natural progression now. You know, if you think most of the dominant bullpen guys even are going under the knife after a year or two. Best pitcher to this day that I've ever seen, the best pitch I've ever seen, Johnny Venters. Johnny Venters, you know, lasted 2 years, basically, 2.5 years. So it's really difficult. The most interesting thing that I heard about it is that you know, a guy that actually works for Major League Baseball, Mike McCollum, he said that the sticky mound is actually one of the only new variables that's been introduced into this equation. Before, the pitcher would land on basically like a sand, you know, plane there, and you know, sort of ease through the motion. Now they're sticking on, you know, on a surface that is putting a lot of stress on the arm. I mean, we still don't really know why it's happening.
So here is Brad Ziegler, ground ball specialist, certainly, as that sweeping bender misses outside. 1-0 the count, one of the highest ground ball rates in the game. The man in the other dugout who would love to work Zach Britton, #1, but Ziegler from down low with that arm angle.
You're absolutely right about the ground ball percentage, but he's actually been getting the whiffs since coming to the Red Sox. He's 16% strikeout rate with the Diamondbacks. Last year it was 13%, the year before 19%. With the Red Sox so far, 28%. He's really just been blowing the ball by guys, and that's not really his game. So it's kind of interesting to see how that's happened.
Career appearance number 597 for Ziegler. Center field. Oh, baby, the ballpark holds it. That was not a ground ball, folks.
No.
That was not a ground ball. We have played 7. This is a good one. The Boston Red Sox lead it by a score of 5-2. Got this up out over the plate. Jones was extended, but in the end, Adam with 3 outs in the air and a strikeout. All right, we step aside momentarily. Here's the very best of the week's StatCast style.
His breaking ball launched to left center, way back. Gordon takes a look, and we have one into the fountains, or over the fountains. A big blast from Ryan Healy. It is his 10th of the year. He got all of it and more against Edinson Volquez. Absolutely crushed over the fountains into that final section of seats in deep left center.
Lines up base hit into left field. Tomas rounding third. Throw to the plate, and he is out at the plate. What a throw by Andrew Toles. And that will end the inning. Runners beware. Don't test the arm of Andrew Toles. Yasmani Tomas found that out the hard way.
Deep left, as you were asking. Gone on the Waveland. 2-2.
Boy, oh boy, did he get into that one. There you go, Addy. Yeah, you hit yours a good way, but anything you could do, I could do better.
When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing, every word to every song of the girl that's taking home tonight. When the lights come on, everybody screaming, lighters in the sky, yeah, everybody singing, every word to every song of the girl that's taking home tonight. When the lights come on.
Beautiful night at the ballpark. Tim McMaster, our T-Mobile Greater Coverage reporter. Not only has he been taking us around the yard out onto Utah Street, but there are some pretty memorable seats, Tim, and some places where memories are to be found in the ballpark of historic long balls and moments, huh?
To think I have a pretty good knowledge of all the different ballparks across baseball and the unique things, but this one I actually didn't know about until doing a little bit of research. I feel like everybody kind of knows about the red seat at Fenway where Ted Williams hit his legendary, maybe true, maybe not true home run in his career way back beyond the bullpens. And of course, there's the purple seats out in Colorado at Mile High, signifying Mile High for the Rockies. But there's 2 orange seats here at Camden Yards. One of them in honor of Cal Ripken Jr., who hit a home run to that orange seat right there. His 278th career home run. That actually passed Ernie Banks for the most home runs ever hit by a shortstop in Major League Baseball. And then the other one, Eddie Murray, 500th career home run. That one hit back on September 6th of 1996. That one's located in section 96, row 7, seat 23. So guys, 2 orange seats at Camden Yards, one of them in right field, one of them in left field. Both of them occupied tonight in some pretty memorable shots. There's Eddie Murray going deep to right center field. Not a small poke by Murray. That his 500th career shot. And the streamers came down here at Camden Yards. One of the cool moments in this ballpark. And that, of course, as I said, back in 1996. And then Ripken to left field. And guys, this may be surprising, but he's still the all-time home run leader among shortstops. Alex Rodriguez has more career home runs, but not as a shortstop. He moved over to third base, and he was only 8 shy of Cal Ripken when he made the move from shortstop to third base. So Cal Ripken still your Major League Baseball all-time home runs leader among shortstops.
Tim, it's Mike. I was looking at the video you shot of those orange seats out there. Is there any plaque or anything on them that explains to fans what they are, or do they just think it's kind of a cool special orange seat for them?
No, you got to ask questions. In fact, I came to the top of the section over where Murray's is, guys, and I said, I just kind of walked over in the general area, and 2 ushers both said, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm looking for the orange seats. And they immediately both pointed at the orange seat, and they said, That one is for Eddie Murray. It was his 500th career home run. So you don't have to do a lot of research, but there's no plaque. You just have to find the closest usher who will know the information.
Hey, food-wise, what do people love there? I mean, we hear all about Boog's Barbecue. Is there some hype that's tied to that? What else food-wise are people talking about?
Guys, it's Baltimore, so obviously besides Boog's, it's pretty much seafood. I think you may remember the crab mac and cheese hot dog that I had last time I was here at Camden Yards. I've also had Boog's here. Other than that, a lot of the stuff here, guys, at Camden Yards is your traditional ballpark stuff, but you can get crab meat. And, of course, around the park, we're in the Inner Harbor, so many other food options from seafood to steak to everything.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, guys.
Tim McMaster, T-Mobile Greater Coverage Reporter. All right, the southpaw, Ryan Dunsing, ready to roll as he comes on for his 11th appearance in the big leagues for Baltimore this year. Longtime member of the Minnesota Twins. Out of Nebraska.
So he actually had, as there's a wild pitch here, elbow surgery this year after signing with Baltimore because he injured himself on a chair in the Texas bullpen. I don't know exactly how he did it, if he fell over it, if he was sitting awkwardly, but he was just sitting in the chair, injured his elbow, and having to have surgery, and he missed a considerable chunk of the season. So it's on the list of embarrassing baseball injuries. I don't know if it's quite Glenn Allen Hill sleepwalking through a glass door, but I think that's got to be on the list.
Well, as a career minor leaguer, there's no embarrassing injury sustained in the major leagues, I will tell you that.
You still got the service time.
It's really interesting to see these guys, former starters, sort of, try to fit into bullpens. I mean, Duensing, I believe, made an opening day start for Minnesota.
61 career starts in the big leagues. You're exactly right. Jackie Bradley homered back in the 4th inning. He takes this one low.
He's interesting, though. So, as you said, he was with the Twins for a long time, and he had a chance to sign with either Kansas City or San Francisco this year, as you can see. He's kind of a sinker slider guy. And the reason he picked Kansas City is because their AAA team is in Omaha. And he figured if I don't make the team, I'm from Omaha, at least I can pitch at home. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why he chose them over San Francisco, never got called up, opted out, and ended up with Baltimore.
It's a cool park there. Really cool. Storm Chasers. And speaking of, AAA parks, it's interesting how different Norfolk, which is Baltimore's AAA park, is so different from Camden Yards. I mean, it is difficult to hit a home run in Norfolk. It's muggy air, and then Camden Yard is just a hitter's dream.
Good slider, by the way, is the undoing of Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yeah, all sinker slider in that plate appearance. I mean, that's totally his game. The slider's low, hopefully for strikes, and the sinkers in the strike zone hopefully get ground balls. It's not overly complicated.
And this right here is the reason that Sandy Leon should be at the top of your depth chart. He's hitting right-handed now. I mean, a switch hitting catcher. It's like this guy just appeared. It's unbelievable.
One and one the count to Sandy. He 0 for 3. He struck out a couple of times, lined to second. Had a sweet spot moment earlier this year in August. 105.05 exit velocity, 23.76 launch angle. It was a sweet, sweet spot 443 feet later. And a home run against the Orioles. That was a perfect combination of numbers and metrics for him. He fouls that one back. We'll do it again, a ball and 2 strikes. The other thing he's done this year, he has extended bats, taking more pitches. staying alive, fouling off more pitches. His at-bats are almost a full pitch longer than in seasons past. Not that time.
You can see that was a swing he regretted because he didn't even fully finish it.
Looking for something down, looking for maybe a slider on that back foot. That's not what he got. So he got a pitch, looked like it was coming in as a hot air balloon, and he came up empty. Here's Marco Hernandez. Singled, scored, grounded out to short, and flied to left field. Marco this year, AAA Pawtucket hit 309, triple slash 309, 343, 444 in 57 games, 0-1. Just hanging out with us a little bit later, David Ortiz with career home run number 539. A 3-run homer. Final pitch thrown by Kevin Gausman. 0-2 the count. Hernandez just 24 years old. There's another youngster we haven't seen in this game, a 22-year-old in Andrew Benintendi. Not yet anyway. The SEC in Arkansas, Boston's first-round pick in 15 as he takes high.
Yeah, you remember seeing him play in that College World Series?
I do.
I mean, I thought he was great, but I still didn't think that it would happen so quickly. Benintendi has made his way to the big leagues. 151 total minor league games. He's been up here now. Not to return, I would imagine. Probably not.
2-2 the count.
Maybe as a slap on the wrist next year.
Weeders puts his nose down on that one, makes a very nice play.
You know,
Two times a Gold Glover.
Excuse me. I was just going to make a bad joke. It's okay. I was going to say I like Brian Dunsing's pitch mixture, but he sure knows how to bring a game to a grinding halt.
2-2 the count. Little roller, did he just give up a hit off the end of the glove? That's a nice play. Just kind of scooped it up there, snow coned it, hung on to it on the edge of that glove, and an accurate throw, and Davis dug it out. 5-2, the Red Sox on top of the Orioles, and a fine play to end that inning there.
It's a tough play.
So here we go. Obviously, David Ortiz a fun part of this game tonight. I mean, there's no doubt that you don't get excited about that. The work that was done, and done very, very effectively for the Boston Red Sox by Eduardo Rodriguez. But we can recap. We definitely have our options here. We can recap what we have seen so far, or we'll let you start, since you're the senior StatCast member, or a favorite StatCast memory this year. Which one?
Well, I mean, anybody who knows me probably already knows what I'm going to say. Which is watching Seth Lugo's debut with you. I think it was.
That's mine.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal from you.
I like
but
that.
It was you and myself, and I believe Jim Duquette was here with us. And it was one of the. It was a rain-delayed game. Mets Cubs. Mets were up big. Guy we'd never heard of comes in and strikes out Anthony Rizzo on a pitch so nasty it actually hits Rizzo on the back foot after he swings right through it. Anthony Rizzo is a really good hitter. And I believe we might have actually had you on live from the ballpark at the time, as I remember. And so you were giving, an interview and saying some really great things. And I think Duke and I look at each other like, did you see that pitch? And then I look at the spin rate, and it was like the third highest spin rate pitch anybody had thrown is this guy's 12th big league pitch. And like that's someone we need to pay attention to. And he's actually been a big part of the Mets playoff run. So that probably for me is number one.
You do a lot of great writing. You do a lot of great producing. You've traveled the world over the last year or so. This has been an interesting situation for all of us. What have you taken away from this?
It's harder than it looks, guys. It's harder than it looks. No, I've had a lot of fun doing this. The Kike Hernandez 2-home run game was big. A great player that is a lot of fun to watch. It's really fun to do it from the stadium and just be that reporter, kind of taking things in and reacting live. It's been a lot of fun. I get a great kick out of bantering with Mike. From the StatCast perspective, and then the players' perspective. It's really interesting going back and forth. And it's been great to see the show evolve a little bit.
And it's a good point, and we should take a second and thank Chris and Danny and Brett and Elliot and Ashley and Jason and everybody who has made us look even halfway decent, which is not difficult or not easy for us. So it's been a very cool experience.
Here in a bit, we're going to roll all those names of all the people that have contributed. So we will make sure we're able to thank them for the work they have put in and the work they have done. Then we'll roll all the way through with the boss and on down to the boss's bosses and the folks that have made a bold enough choice to put this together. I mean, there's some courage that goes into choosing to have this be a part of the programming, to put it alongside with the MLB Network Showcase Game of the Week. And from my perspective, humbly, it's been an honor to be a part of this. Chris Davis leads things off, and Davis lifts that one up to the left side. Koji is on. Uehara, the veteran right-hander, an ERA of 3.86 this year.
Graphics king of Long Island.
I saw that.
Alan Moy, I like that. That's good.
I saw that.
I can only assume that means he was writing his own title there. Good job, Alan. Hey, on Koji, by the way.
Yes.
Continually one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball. I think constantly. He missed 6 weeks with a strained right pec. 6 games since he's been back. 0 ERA, 7 whiffs, 0 walks. I think he's feeling okay.
It's amazing that he still lights out with the velocity down. It just shows you that it really doesn't matter. Obviously, he's got great deception. It's so impressive that he's able to do it. I mean, there's a point that he was doing this at 94, 95.
Pretty good spin rate, pretty high spin rate, right? He averages 2,400, a little bit over 2,400 on his fastball.
And that's above average.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that at his peak, when he was with Baltimore, I guess a couple years ago, I would really have liked to have data on him then. Right. I wonder if it had been different, because they would go a long way. He was never a guy who threw 98 miles an hour. But he's always been a guy with that. I think he is one of the guys that probably would fit the high spin rate ideal. And it's still high, as you said, but I would have loved to have seen it a couple years ago.
Well, the key for him is just the difference in miles per hour from his off-speed stuff and the fastball. I mean, he's, it's usually about 10 miles an hour of a difference. I mean, obviously, if you can be over about 7 or 8, you're doing good. And it's difficult. I mean, look, that's one of the best hitters on the planet right there that's looking, silly on that changeup and just barely getting a piece of it. Obviously, as the velocity goes down, it's a little bit easier to get, a nick on that ball and stay in the at-bat, but he's still so impressive and competitive.
Is there anything you can do? Like, let's say you're facing a pitcher and now okay, this guy's a high spin rate, doesn't throw that hard. I can expect that kind of quote-unquote rising fastballs. Would knowing that allow you to change your swing or your approach?
What do you mean when you can expect the fastball?
Well, like a kind of a rising fastball. If this guy's got a really high spin rate, it's going to have that late life. Maybe you wouldn't have known that 10 years ago, but now with the data, you might know that going in, kind of change your scouting report, change your approach. But can you act on that?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of terms that we use here that are just articulated differently in the big league. So, launch angle. I've heard people sort of complain about launch angle being a little bit too technical, but every hitting coach is teaching launch angle in making sure that you're staying through the ball. We're cognizant of launch angle in staying through the ball. So, on the other side, for seeing a pitcher that has a fastball with a high spin rate, that's something where a hitting coach or a player that has already seen that pitcher before you might say, be careful with the high fastball because it's going to look good to you and it's just going to ride. So it's interesting that it's the same principles, just articulated differently.
This is why I like having you here, because I can ask questions like that and hear how real ball players actually talk about it.
2 outs, and that one is fired right down the heart of the plate. 0-1 the count to Mark Trumbo. 0 for 3, flied out, lined out, struck out. A little more than 3 miles worth of home runs for Trumbo. Be a pretty good run. You could enjoy a meal and then run off your meal with his homer distance. 17,685 feet. You could see that was a great shot. Young saying, I want it down. Patting that catcher's mitt on the dirt when he gave the sign to the 41-year-old right-hander, Uehara. He was so good in 13, Koji. Cy Young votes, MVP votes, 74 in the 3rd innings, 101 strikeouts. On pitches like that, they were harder. They were more lively back then. That's a pretty good inning, Grandpa. Nice job. 41 years young, and the reaction there, good stuff. Well, this is our final MLB Plus show. No spin rate on that. That one disappeared. Certainly a lot of the things we are tracking, and we, again, one more time, answer the question, why are we all here? What does it all mean? What is StatCast? Here we go.
Several years of research and development were realized in 2014 with the debut of MLB.com's StatCast, the first ever reliable measurement of every play on a baseball field. Pioneered by MLB Advanced Media and debuted with prototypes at the 2014 All-Star Game, League Championship Series, and World Series, StatCast's roots can be traced back roughly a decade earlier to MLBAM's introduction of pitch tracking. Pitch tracking delivered a never-before-seen wealth of detailed information regarding every pitch thrown in the major leagues. Though a bold move at the time, today, pitch tracking technology is ubiquitous throughout broadcast television and baseball's digital products. But despite the data compiled on pitching, never before have there been reliable defensive statistics. The goal with StatCast was to leverage the technology to ensure that defense could be quantified and that a more complete picture of our game be made available to fans. To that end, all 30 ballparks have been outfitted with 2 distinctly different but collaborative technologies to allow for the data capture, optical tracking, and radar tracking. High-definition video camera arrays spaced 15 meters apart to capture stereoscopic video, and a 3D Doppler radar system which captures 2,000 samples per second of the entire baseball field. By marrying the data from each of these systems, it is now possible to scientifically quantify the skills and talents of players on the field using new player performance metrics.
And away we go. The final inning. Darren O'Day, we heard a conversation with Darren O'Day earlier. And Mookie Betts to lead things off. Betts has made this ballpark his home, and whenever it's spray charts, we bring in our expert on spray charts. Mike, what does that all mean?
Yeah, this is from our friend Darren Woodman. What this means is he's hitting the ball all over the place. You see the red dots beyond the outfield wall there. He's not just pulling it, he's not just hitting the center. He's spraying the ball all over the park. There's nothing they can do really to get this guy out. We saw the absurd numbers earlier. I would love for him to be traded to Baltimore and play an entire season.
There you have it, 8 home runs this year, slugging .1333. O'Day comes on for the 32nd time this year, 28 in the 3rd innings, my apologies. 4.13 ERA.
O'Day not having quite the same season this year. He's still getting the strikeouts, but last year he walked fewer than 2 per 9. This year he's walking more than 4 per 9. And he's always been the fly ball type, and more balls are leaving the park than usual. Obviously the slider, but he has that very impressive four-seam fastball. He doesn't necessarily throw it that hard, but from the angle he's throwing it at, it's kind of an interesting way to look at spin because his spin is almost a different way because he's throwing it from sidearm or down under.
That was it right there. That's a tough pitch to deal with. Just nips the outside corner.
Mookie doesn't like it. I love that Mookie is looking up at the umpire to argue.
Looks like it just crossed to the outside corner of the zone, barely.
Yeah.
He's got a piece of it.
Uh-oh.
High fly ball. He didn't hit it again, did he? Did he? Did he? He didn't. Oh, baby.
One of the few stadiums where you can rob a home run without jumping.
Kim up against that wall. Oh, my goodness.
Pulls his hands in really nicely right there.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's just so hard to do. Most people break their bat, something.
So you can see the 364-foot, that's where the wall was there. The projected distance, obviously, if there was no field or no wall, just where the ball would have landed on that, 366 feet. So he technically hit a home run. But I like that because it also kind of proves that the radars are pretty accurate.
Trying to hit his 9th home run. Sammy Sosa hit 8 home runs in Houston in 2001. Mike Schmidt tore up the Cubs in 1980 with 8 home runs at Wrigley Field. That's a fun bit of research they all put together for us. Betts and Sosa and Schmidt.
I bet Sammy had some 7s and 6s that year as well.
That rock is cleaned up and grabbed from behind home plate. There's a good shot from our RoboCam behind the dish. Xander's 1 for 4. He singled back in the 5th inning. He's got 11 hits in his last 10 games. He's got 3 walks as well, so he's trying to get rolling again.
That was an uncomfortable swing.
But not that time.
You can kind of see because the backside flies out, and then he reaches forward with the bat. There's no best case scenario there because even if you make contact, there's no way you're actually getting any solid contact behind it.
Yeah. Well, you might hit it, solid enough. I mean, think about how many hits you've seen Derek Jeter get like that.
I guess the best case is you foul it off and you live to fight another day.
Call to the bullpen, and we remind you, you are watching MLB Plus featuring StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. I'm going we have a Gary Sanchez home run, StatCasted, just for you. Oh. Just for you. We're going to take a look right here. Exit velo 108, 437 feet for Sanchez. In Tampa. You know that ballpark pretty well, too.
I do.
How does the ball fly in that ballpark?
Well, I think that it's pretty true. I mean, it's not going to sound super interesting, but it's just, still wind, obviously, nothing blowing in your face ever, obviously. But I think that it flies, the ballpark is not small. It just has that weird carom down the line. If you're one of those guys that pulls the ball, it can be very short. You see some of those 320-foot home runs over there. Most interesting thing about Tampa is that the dome is white. So as an outfielder, you can't take your eye off the ball when you're tracking it. And so that's why you see a lot of sort of goofy plays made at the warning track, because as an outfielder, usually, let's say here at Camden Yards, you can look at the ball, put your head down, keep running, and run to the spot because you know where it's going to be. But if you do that in Tampa, you're going to be looking up at a white wall trying to find a white ball. You'll see a pretty goofy play here.
O'Day gone from this contest. Xander Bogaerts gone thanks to Mr. O'Day. We StatCast look back at that. The extension at 6'6", the sweeping slider. So that adds to the velocity. The perceived velocity goes up on that breaking ball. Donnie Hart's 25 years old. He is coming on as a left-handed specialist for the 18th time this year. Has yet to allow any of his own runs. 14 2/3 innings without a run allowed. Opponents hit 220 against him, 298 on base, 240 slug, and that's what he throws. A lot of stuff.
He has to, because his fastball tops out about 88 miles an hour. But you're going to see he's got kind of a funky arm angle. He exists entirely for hitters like David Ortiz. So far against lefties this year, 152 average against 229 on base. Look at that. Look how far off the side he is. I can't imagine how uncomfortable that must be for a left-handed hitter to see.
Hart, Texas State University, produced Paul Goldschmidt. Fastball in.
So what pitch do you think you're going to see right here? 2-0.
Well, let's see. Hart throws a little bit of everything. He started him off with a slider.
Missed with a fastball.
2-0.
I mean, David Ortiz.
I think he's going to throw another slider.
Call it. I say fastball.
I think you're right. Some guys 88 miles an hour is a slider. But for Donnie Hart, pretty sure that was a fastball.
It's 2-0, and you made the best 40-year-old baseball player on the planet look pretty ridiculous. You're exactly right. There's some good deception on that ball.
Yeah, he does have a changeup. I'd be interested to see if he tries to drop one low here.
This might be the time.
Raking ball, 2-2.
The movement on that thing.
Yeah, you can see David Ortiz laughing because that pitch started way behind him.
He's like, this is why I'm retiring. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Spin rate of over 2,400. That broke from dugout to dugout.
So I think you got to attack him with a strike here because, you know, Ortiz is not going to chase. Sort of the element of surprise strike when you don't need to throw one here, 2-2.
I'm thinking maybe sinker. Obviously, you want Ortiz to put the ball on the ground whenever possible.
I think he's going to throw that frisbee slider again.
The Texan deals it. He throws him a fastball.
And so, you know, the longer that this at-bat extends, the further that the advantage goes to David Ortiz, because this is a guy he's never seen before, and now he's seen every one of his pitches. And this is not only valuable in winning this game, this is valuable going forward, you know, to face this guy maybe later in the season, later in the series.
Poppy, that's a fair ball. Davis says, I'll take it myself. He trucks to the bag, hits the side. Ortiz with a few yucks as he comes by the fellow slugger. And the Texas State southpaw gets the job done.
It's amazing how much he cheated there. He stepped in the bucket. I mean, he's just guessing. If he threw him that frisbee slider there, he would have no chance.
All right, guys, let's walk through our StatCast game recap. I'll lead on both of you. You will start with Mr. Rodriguez. Some good things in this game, starting out with the strikeout of Davis.
Yeah, we've seen this one a couple times. This is, you know, Rodriguez we talked about. Really impressive with that nice changeup to go with that 96-mile-an-hour fastball, which is what you see right there. And he dropped in the slider from now and then. He has really given the Red Sox a lot to be happy about going into the postseason.
Breaking ball, Gausman to Chris Young. That's a strikeout. Jackie Bradley with a home.
Yeah, this was the pitch, as I remember, just tried to get it up, but didn't quite get it up enough, so Bradley was able to crush it. You can see 106 miles an hour at a 21-degree launch angle. That is almost always going to be a good thing for the hitter, not so much for the pitcher.
Trey Mancini, welcome to the Major Leagues. First hit, a homer.
Remember that pitch was actually low and inside. I'm not even sure it was a strike, but that's fine for him. If that's where he can hit the ball 111 miles an hour, all the better, because that was no doubt off the bat. Look at the reaction of the picture right there, Rodriguez.
That's the better reaction.
This is a much better reaction. I love that we were able to cut from one to the other, because you know, you go from utmost sadness to
this
absolute joy. And then David Ortiz doing what David Ortiz does, 30-degree launch angle, just about perfect when he hits the ball over 100 miles an hour.
Animated, StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. A starry night in our animated world.
Poor Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, what a rough way to leave the game, huh?
Boston Red Sox with a 4-game lead on both Baltimore and Toronto.
Possibly about to be 5 games right here, at least on Baltimore, pending what Toronto does. And that's pretty much it in my book. Boston, I think, has got this in hand. And I'm pretty pleased with that because I picked Boston to win the division back in April.
As long as you're happy.
I am happy. In April, I selected a Boston Cubs World Series. I'm feeling pretty good about that.
All right. Our T-Mobile Greater Coverage Cam from the press box. We journey down onto the field at Camden Yards. Jonathan Scope, Matt Wieters, and the aforementioned Trey Mancini. Last chance. Craig Kimbrell takes the rock, and he rolls for the 51st time this year. Junior college, Alabama, hard thrower, fun to watch, always has been.
Yeah, you can see the highest strikeout percentage, obviously. If you were to put together a list of the 5 best relievers in baseball, it'd maybe be these guys and Zach Britton, because that's domination. Remember, Britton hurt his knee, Kimbrell hurt his knee, right? It missed a chunk of time. Since he's come back, he came back August 1st, 14 1/3 innings, 102 average against, 254 on base against, 1 earned run allowed, struck out 27 of the 59 batters he's faced. Gonna go out on a limb and say the knee is healthy, and he is peak Kimbrell right now.
Absolutely.
The fastball jumps at home plate, spin rate. There are some things to look at. His breaking ball, and you can see how often he throws it, 31% of the time. The two-seam fastball, rarely. It's fastball, breaking ball, but his spin rate on his breaking ball, 25.50. On his fastball, 24.61, so high spin. Average, those are average.
High spin, and I guess that goes back to the question we had from one of the Twitter followers was, do you have high spin on more than one pitch? Not everybody does, but he certainly does.
That is unhittable.
That spike curveball, 26.16 spin rate there.
You can't swing the bat when your knees turn into jelly. It's just...
Called a knuckle curve because the knuckle comes up, but he's still on the side of that baseball.
Yeah. That's why you switch hit right there.
98.2 miles an hour, jumping up and out of the zone. It's a pretty good extension on occasion, too. His average extension, he'll get out and extend pretty far at times on that fastball, 6.5, 6.5.
Not a comfortable at bat. Your nervous system is engaged.
I'm not even comfortable watching it.
Oh, I am.
You kind of feel bad for Jonathan Scope.
So much fun to watch him pitch. Kimbrell very active too, by the way, and he's certainly not alone, but very active in the fight against pediatric cancer, and that is something we knew about him in Atlanta, very much stepped up in San Diego, and love that part of who he is as a man and a baseball player, Craig Kimbrell, as he faces Matt Wieters now. He saw something, it was a strike, so you better swing while you can. 2 outs.
Wieters does a pretty good job of throwing runners out, but obviously people talk about his framing, not so great. I'm sort of curious as to see what he might do if, you just put him at first base all the time. Obviously pretty difficult to produce huge numbers out of the catcher position. And, as a switch hitter and a guy that has a catching background that's seen so many pitches and knows the mind game there, if you take him out of the catcher position, maybe he would turn it around a little bit with the bat.
Vandy alum Pedro Alvarez.
I was kind of hoping to see Trey Mancini here against Craig Kimbrell, but I suppose I understand.
It was after the first one. It was a strikeout to start the inning of Jonathan Scope, the StatCast look.
Oh. 97 miles an hour and blown away, too. We saw him dive out of the way. Really, he had no chance of that.
252, 321, 506 for Alvarez with 21 home runs this year.
Breaking ball never got there. David Price comes to the top step to watch his all-star teammate. It's a pretty good take. Pretty good. Spin rate on that breaking ball, nearly 2,600, 2,550. High pop. Couple of Red Sox getting together. Long run. Oh, baby, new life. Bogarts went on by. He and Chris Young came together. So another chance.
It's a weird baseball rule, is if that tips his glove, you can call that an error, which is kind of strange. I mean, you know, balls gotta be caught.
A little bit too far. Trying to get to that wall to make sure he was safe, but then by trying to get to that wall, he went too far.
I mean, that ball's spinning quite a bit.
So David
Spin
Price
rate on that.
looking on. Price will go Thursday in this one against Chris Tillman in the series finale. Price and Tillman in the finale. Spun off the breaking ball. It stayed high. 3-2.
Well, there's about 99% chance we're seeing a fastball here. Pedro Alvarez is a good fastball hitter.
If he makes contact with it, the way Alvarez swings, I think it might, blow through 3 counties.
He rocks and fires to 3-2. That's ball 4. That is ball 4.
Trying to be a little bit too fine and hit the corner there.
You hear the crowd join in. It's J.J. Hardy time. Pressure situation involving two of baseball's really good guys in Kimbrel and Hardy now at that open stance, that unique look with his hands away from his body. 0-1. 99 miles an hour. Spin rate of just a tick under 2,400. Trying to make it 6 wins in a row within their division. That's how you lock up a division. Hardy, 0-2.
So you come back with another fastball, or you drop that knuckle curve here? I mean, there's no wrong answer, I guess. That's exactly what he's thinking right now, what Hardy is.
Yeah, I mean, if you elevate, I mean, the thing is, he probably doesn't even really need to elevate. He'd probably throw it right through him, right down the middle. But
Hardy went up and got it at the belt. Easy chance on the ground. 9-8 this year against their foes in the East. The Boston Red Sox have won 6 consecutive games within their division. The 3rd time this year they have gone on a 6-game winning streak within the American League Western Division, and that is the ball game. 5-2 the final score. The Red Sox the victors. Rodriguez was really good, going 6 1/3. 4 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. Drops his ERA down with really good work. And Gausman in this one went 6 1/3. Well, it got ugly quick for him, unfortunately. He gave up 5 runs, all earned. David Ortiz with a long ball, a 3-run shot to end things. What'd you learn tonight, Mike? What did you learn tonight watching this one?
I learned that when the Red Sox get to the postseason, Eduardo Rodriguez is a guy that they can count on. We saw that with the changeup. A big part of his renaissance since he came back was adding the slider. As I said earlier,